we do this each Sunday. I say 1 p.m. I guess that gets everybody primed, but we usually, I mean,
2 p.m.
we've been doing it at 2 p.m.
I changed it for the patrons. When you guys get your announcement, it'll say between 1 and 2 p.m. and we shoot for 2 p.m.
Be definitive. Let's say 2 p.m.
Oh,
I mean, it seems like our schedule ends up going in that arc. So
I feel like as soon as we say 2 p.m., we'll be starting.
No. In our heads, we're focusing on 1 because that allows us to, try to get primed and everything straight.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are doing okay. This is Sunday. There have been a lot of events that have taken place this week, so there is a lot to talk about. And we've had right many people, patrons, give their
topics.
Give their topics this week. So right
thank
on,
you
right
for
on.
everybody who gave topics.
Excellent.
For us to take a look at. We commented on we commented on the post to let you guys know there were some really good ones.
Yeah.
But sometimes topics are given that require some legwork, some research before Jamarl, because I don't know, before we get on or he gets on and starts trying to cover them.
We don't look
There's
like
some legwork that has
to
be done, and so we'll be researching one. I think it was from Mark the Storm.
Yeah.
He talks a lot about cryptocurrency, but he gave a good topic
really
suggestion on it's either Jonathan Haidt or Jonathan Haidt. And so there was a Joe Rogan video that needs to be watched and some other stuff. And then Nathaniel mentioned some climate change updates about some pretty substantial weather catastrophes, and so we're taking a look at all that before we can actually delve in. So
on the positive side, there does seem to be movement with the climate stuff. Unfortunately, it's movement. Look, I don't have this perspective. Like, I know, what's his name, who comes on the show, Peterson comes on the show, and he has a down perspective, like, just prepare to die.
That was the scientist dude.
The scientist, yeah. I don't have that perspective, and even if I did have that perspective, I don't necessarily believe in this thing of just kind of laying down. I never have. Even in my worst moments in life, there was always this flicker of something I kind of pushed out. But in this case, it's like I love the fact that the youth are doing this, because they're going to have to live in the world that these adults have just kind of, whatever. If you're 80, you don't really care. You care about your Social Security and Medicare. You should care because you have grandkids,
So let me say this, because, all right, also, we've got about 50 people here. We're just getting started with the live stream. And so what we're doing now, we're just kind of a little chit chat. We're going to do some announcements before we actually get into today's topics that were listed in the description box below. But I wanted to say, while you were talking about that, we have been doing some volunteering and stuff like that with Bernie. And we had an event yesterday. We'll talk about that later. But one of the things, there was a young lady who does she volunteers and she canvasses. And she was saying, I can't get, young people to be passionate about Medicare for all. And that's why I told her, like, they don't care about Medicare for all. If you're in college, you're not thinking about that as much. Because she was asking, because I said,
oh, I see what you mean, priority-wise.
Right.
You're
right. I was like, what are
most
they...
likely not to get
right.
sick.
I said, I see them being passionate about climate change, because they're like, okay, that's my future. You know what I mean? But they're like, Medicare for all. They're probably still on their parents' health insurance. So they're not as passionate about those topics. I just thought it was funny because you mentioned that. And it was like Medicare for all. But
it's somewhat of a generation gap in perspective.
Yeah.
The older generation.
If you're 50, you'll be like,
I care about my health care. I care about my,
Yeah. But like if you're 20, you're that might not be
you care about it less because it bothers you less.
It's less real for you, I guess.
You're fucking invincible at that age. I was broken as a person. I still felt fucking invincible at that age. Like I ran into a woman that was from Farmville. She came from Farmville as a nurse. And I was like, hey, you came from this particular clinic. Farmville only has like one clinic. And she says, yeah. And I was like, God, man, I gave those nurses hell. Like, I ran that nurse and doctor, ran it. Because keep in mind, when they told me I had kidney failure, I was 17. And I was out of school for maybe 2 or 3 months, finishing up school. All of my grades were so good that it didn't matter. I could stop school literally where I was and still would have been, honor student. And I go to college, like by myself, like 2 or 3 months after finding out I had kidney failure. And then I am by myself entirely. Sex, music, a little bit of school. And by the way, and it's typical college student. And drove my nurses and doctors to their wits' end. Because in my head, it was kind of like, it's there's a certain degree of acceptance that you have to do. And at that age, you're pushing the limits as is, and now you're pushing the limits with a broken body. And that body, doesn't always live up. A doctor told me one time, I was in a hospital, he says, you realize if you were 50 years old, I would have thought you had a heart attack by now. Because he was like, your heart is enlarged, he was all massively fucked up.
You're in bad shape.
You're in bad shape. And he was like, if you were older, you would not have survived this. Like, it's that type of stuff. Yeah, I felt so bad. I felt so bad after the fact.
But that's what, when you're
17. I was 17.
Yeah,
I was 17.
That's what they do. So they're not, so they're probably not as passionate about Medicare for all right now as like someone who's 40.
Yeah.
All right.
It should be. If they put it this way, if they weren't on their parents' insurance, I bet you they would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Garden said also your brain isn't fully developed at that age.
Yeah.
Also probably. I'm not saying you because I don't want to put anything on you. But there are probably a lot of students that are in college who are killing some brain cells with some extracurricular
activities,
herbal
I smoked a lot of pot in college. I mean, but this is kind of my point. I would go for long periods without treatments. I even got to the point of saying, you know what? Fuck those doctors. I can cure this shit myself.
Right.
And I started delving into herbal medicine, into homeopathy.
Don't you have a degree in holistic nutrition?
I do have a degree in holistic nutrition. I do. But because my goal was, well, if they're telling me that there's no option, then maybe there's an option elsewhere. And I started learning about herbal interactions. And, at that time, I started getting to the point where I was producing more urine, blood pressure normalized, fluid level normalized, all that stuff. I go to the doctor and I'm like a peacock. I'm like, yes, I've stopped treatment. I haven't done dialysis in a month. You bitches don't know what you're talking about. And he takes the blood pressure. The nurse is like, all right, this looks weird. He looks like he's, okay. There's nothing, And they call me back after they get my labs and they're like, Mr. Thomas, you're going to die. Yeah, it's that type of stuff. It's like you don't, with those extra, symptoms that you've been able to negate your symptoms without actually doing anything for the actual disease itself.
All right, really quick, Balthazar, thank you, Balthazar, our first super chat for the day. Balthazar says, when I was in college, the campus healthcare was $1,000 a semester. First year on open marketplace was $247 a month for a silver plan. Next year in a different country, in a different county, was $727 a month for a silver plan.
You realize that's just rape. Think of what was, you have a college student that, for one, they say, if you want to get this degree, pay me. Meaning, the degree is not just a piece of paper. It's not just you learning something. It's learning something for the function of providing a living for yourself. You're going to go in an open market and you're going to sell yourself to the highest bidder in regards to a corporation. And you need to have a certain skill set. Now, they know that and say they leverage that against profit. We're going to make profit off of this child because this child needs this degree in order to function in society. That's so gross. It's an outright betrayal. If we're talking about an older community that allowed this level of raping of their kids, it's fucking gross.
Donald Smead says, like Macron, you'll love Mayor Pete.
Oh, well, they're the same person. I mean, Macron's not gay, but they're the same person politically.
Yeah.
That neo-lib in that sense. It's the same thing.
Pete.
He's just cut for...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pete. Booty. And I'm not saying booty because he's gay. I'm saying booty because his name.
Nobody thought you were, but now there's no coming back.
Well, the name, but is in his name, right? Booty gay? Booty gigi? And you always say booty.
Every time someone
you
says
always
his name,
says
I say booty rocking everywhere.
That's a gay slur, baby.
No, it's not. All right, we're going to move on.
Being racist.
All right. Somebody
really
said French, same thing. That's offensive. Because he's French. It's the same thing. All right, so welcome to Patron Appreciation. I'm going to do the spiel. We've got about 133 people here.
Nice.
We've just been kind of chit-chatting, shooting the shit, isn't that what they call it? Yes. And we're going to get started on topics in just a moment. Jamarl, as he mentioned earlier, today is our weekly contributor, a.k.a. Patron appreciation.
Well, let's call it Patreon just because we started it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it started out as patron appreciation. One day of the week or one video of the week where Jamarl wants to take the time out to thank everybody who contributes to the channel.
Yes.
So once a week, there's a post that goes up on the Patreon platform that says, hey, don't forget, Sunday is going to be Patron Appreciation. Go ahead and post your topics in that post. And we use those topic suggestions from patrons and other contributors who contribute topics through...
To create the show.
Yeah, like through email and stuff like that. We use that information for today's show.
Thing is, a lot of the shows that I get are from contributors.
Yeah, but this is one specifically.
Yeah.
Where they're like, okay, well, I know that if I post here, this is the show that, you know what I mean? They might do that on. Are you trying to get close to me?
I'm trying to get close to you, baby.
Oh, okay. All right. So somebody said they don't know who I am because they haven't been in here in a while. First of all, shame on you for not being here because this is like my 7th.
Yeah, you've been
Patron
for a while
appreciation.
at this point.
I think the first time I was on
It's
Trump's
been months.
State of the Union,
State of the Union,
whatever the hell that thing is called. My name's Aisha, aka Mrs. Thomas, aka Mrs. Hollingsworth Thomas, aka Mrs. Progressive Soapbox, whatever else you want to call me.
Mrs. Thomas is fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
dominance and ownership.
I'm gonna go ahead and do announcements. We're not gonna have that conversation again. I'm gonna go ahead and do announcements. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. As always, this is our weekly Patron Appreciation Show. It is live now for your viewing pleasure. Afterwards, it will be taken down and available only to patrons on the Patreon platform. If you are not familiar with Patreon, because this week I did have somebody ask, well, what the hell is Patreon? So when you're looking at, and I'll describe it because I didn't know until you and somebody else that I watch on YouTube joined the Patreon platform. So what it is you're watching people's videos and you're like, okay, well, he has to put in the time, the energy, the effort, sometimes the money to get his content out. I support him. I watch him pretty regularly. I'm going to donate to him to make sure that he can continue the good work that he does. I want to support him. So you become a patron. You can give as little as $1 a month, but essentially what you do is you can commit to a monthly, but it's different. It's not just saying, okay, I'm going to give you a donation. Patron is a monthly commitment. You can do it for as little as $1, and you say, okay, once a month for $1, you know, I'm going to join the Patreon platform. You can give as much as you want, as little as you want, whatever.
Just the benefit of it, as opposed to, and don't get me wrong, this can be done through PayPal, in which case we'll also allow access to content, but it allows the contributor or the person who's making the content to see in advance what is going to get. Like, one of the most difficult parts is not knowing salary or you know, the amount that you're going to have month to month, and it allows the person to see it month to month.
Yeah. So once you become a patron, that's where, when we say stuff is on the Patreon platform, that's where it's going to be. So, all that being said and done, this is Patreon Appreciation. Thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, blah, 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 all the other stuff. So, very quickly, if you did not know, Jamarl does have a P.O. box. The information is down in the description box below.
Oh, right.
And we got some really funny, cool stuff, some weird stuff in the mail. So, on last week's Patreon Appreciation show, somebody said they were going to send us Tulsi tea. And I was like, I don't know what Tulsi tea is. But
it's a real thing.
There is apparently
it's Tulsi tea.
Something called Tulsi tea.
Oh, it's green, so it's reflecting. It's invisible.
There's Tulsi tea.
Tulsi tea.
Shout out to the person who sent us the Tulsi tea.
And they're so racist.
First of all, they
woman on the front.
That's unfortunate.
And they're naming it Tulsi. Oh, not all Indian people are named Tulsi.
No, first of all, she's Hawaiian. Second of all, I think this was probably out before Tulsi started running, maybe.
I'm joking.
But the person who sent it,
awesome,
first of all, didn't put their full name, and also hoping all your tea times be fine. But thank you. They might make themselves known in the chat.
Does this need a
They
battery?
said Tulsi is a flower or something, but
and then
they also sent that.
And if you can see, this is Bernie 2020.
Put your hand behind it, it'll focus. Who is that, babe?
That's Charlie Brown. What do you mean?
Charlie Brown.
That's awesome. I love this. So, I have all of these things like right here at the desk. I have the Spock doll and the Kirk doll over there. Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Once we get our own place. I mean, that's assuming we're leaving.
You make it sound like we're like in college, like living with our parents.
No, it's just we when we decided to travel, we had to give up the apartment or the house, I should say,
We made
to travel.
a choice to give up
We made a choice to give it
all
up
those bills.
because the thought was give up the place. That way we don't have to pay rent, and we can use that money to apply towards traveling. But that does mean you've given up your place, which means you have to live somewhere. So
We're squatters.
We're squatters.
For the last year with his mama.
The moment that my mom gets her surgery and she's okay, we're going to go traveling again, which means there's no point in getting another apartment or house in the intervening time.
So what were you
which means you're a squatters.
What?
So my thought was, these things are going up on the wall, like planks and stuff like that, or it's just going to have
we'll do some updates.
Office. Yeah. Or the office would just be the office.
You guys remember before we moved here, he had a nice little setup, and there was degrees and like stuff behind him, whatever. All right, Balthazar says, and we're getting into the topics. Balthazar says he now pays $868 a month. It's not always that staying on your parents' plan is why college kids don't prioritize Medicare for all. Most schools offer one basic and one premium option, and most basic services are provided. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Garden Gnome, thank you, Garden Gnome. He did not give any text, but he did give a super chat.
Thanks, man.
So yeah. Also, we are going to do call-ins next week.
Yes. So one of my subscribers, Luca, has been with me for God knows how long. And Luca was like, I want to have a conversation about Bernie Sanders not backing up Assange. Now, we're going to talk about Sanders and Assange and what I consider to be
tepid,
unsatisfactory, at least. Like, at the least. And I got to be honest, it's not even about Assange. If that makes sense. Like, people are attributing it to Assange, but it has nothing to do with Assange. And I'll show you what I mean. I'll talk about it afterwards. I'm glad he says something about it, so yes, but that's not a gold star.
Too little, too late. But we'll get into it.
We'll get into that.
Darren Alevi. Thank you, Darren. And this is one of our topics, like you guys know, in the description box. It says, May is out, which is a good thing, but Corbyn under Labour will lose the next election if he doesn't purge the Blairites.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Also, and we'll get in.
That's a whole nother war. But you
that.
Can't purge. How do you purge the Blairites?
We'll talk about that.
This is like what was what is the thing we watched last night? What was the thing? The Snowpiercer. The thing that you were drooling on. I was
drooling on.
Yeah, you're calling hoax.
I was sleeping.
The element of Snowpiercer, and even the element of Game of Thrones, and the element of all of these things, that's abundantly true, that nobody likes to hear, but is absolutely true. This is kind of the there's no magical door thing. Any system that allows a changeover within the system itself is always going to trend towards a particular thing, because the system itself has a mind of its own. Meaning, the system that you're in is not innocuous. It's not, it's not for nothing, if that makes sense. It's not like a bland field to which you operate. It has a perspective of sorts based on the incentives that it allows for human beings. Meaning, the moment that you put human beings into a system, it trends a particular direction. In Game of Thrones, what's her name symbolized this of, we're going to break the wheel. Great! But there's a lot of people on that wheel that is okay with the wheel being the way that wheel is. And how do you stop those people? Not just them useful idiots that is in that wheel that grew up from the time that they were born to the time that they died, believing and engaging in this will. How do you break that will? We break that will by killing everybody in here. Whoa. That's too much. Okay, if that's too much, then you've only allowed the system to propagate itself. Even if you kill everybody off, if the system stays the same.
This sounds like something that should be on the black box or something.
No, I'm just making a very particular point that what they're saying, this notion of changing things. How do you change things when all of the elements that allowed it to propagate in that way, in and of itself, remain? How do you do it? It's that difficult question, because when people come up with an answer of, well, you just clear the chessboard. Well, you can't clear the chessboard. I have family members. There's shit that I love. I like going to, I like John Wick. I mean, come on, man. But then you get into this weird scenario. Jon Snow kills what's her name, and he's like, I don't know if I did the right thing. Why does he know if he did the right thing? Because the authority system that's in place.
Spoiler alerts! If
propagated
you
itself.
haven't seen the rest of Game of Thrones.
I mean, this is a fascinating question, because lefties, especially lefties, more than anybody else, have to engage that. How do you change that system if you don't break any eggs in the system? How do you do it? Because ultimately you're left with what you had. If you notice, at the end of Snowpiercer, there were two people that walked away, two kids. Any system is going to have elements of the old system just because human beings are human beings and they're going to retain a memory of it, whether they like it or not. Even if they're going against the old system, let's be very clear, they're still orienting themselves to the old system. Like, it is a difficult, it's a difficult question, man. It's lefties have to engage that point because lefties are the ones who want to change the world. Right wingers are like, oh, let's keep shit the way it is. Lefties are very clear on this point of, I want a new world, we want a new world, I want my flying cars. All right. How do you get that? And what about people when they disagree?
Okay. All right.
That's some good shit, man.
All right, we're going to move on into what we came here
and
to
it's
do.
true. I mean,
I'm not saying it's not, but we are so off. We're going to streamline.
Like, fair enough.
Streamline. Also, because some of what you're saying might have tied into some other stuff, and so now it's going to be weird. All right, I always mess up your name. I don't know. Tell me, is it Triana be fine or trying to be fine? Let me know.
Triana be fine.
I said that, but I think it's trying to be fine. But she says that was her, or he says that was her. I'm assuming it's a she. If that was you for the Tulsi tea, thank you.
Trying to be fine. I love that.
Yeah, we always like to get stuff. We always like to get stuff.
You know what?
In the mail.
I don't like calling her trying to be fine.
Trying to be fine.
But that's
what her name is. She just said, I won't mess it up again. I got you. All right.
No,
let's go ahead and get started.
Because here's the thing.
The name that she picked, whether or not you like it or not.
Let me explain to you the difference in those things.
Okay.
Trying to be fine versus Triana be fine. Triana be fine is assertive and it's I am fine as opposed to I am trying to be.
You know, you don't think that I know the difference between trying to be fine and Triana be fine?
Give her confidence.
This is the fucking screen name she picked.
I'm just saying.
She trying to be fine? Okay.
I'm just saying she doesn't have to try to be. She probably already is.
Okay. Well, she's trying.
And she needs to know that.
This is the name that she chose.
She needs to own it. That's all I'm
saying. So we're going to call her by her name. Let's go ahead and get into the first topic.
All right.
We got 183 people. I don't know how long we're on here, but it seemed like a long time.
I mean, you've been
and
talking
she said,
very much.
You.
Shit.
Lord have mercy.
All right, let's
get into it.
Let's go to the first one. Let's do the news.
Let's jump in. Let's do what we came here to do.
So, May ends in June. Theresa May is ending in June.
Brexit.
Zombie Prime Minister Theresa May will be zombie no more. So she is
finally
finally put a stake in her heart and it's
Was she a vampire?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Theresa May has been she's had one massive resignation after the next, like resignations that would have cratered any other prime minister's thing. They were on a Theresa May watch going on for the last year. Like, that's how bad.
A Theresa May watch?
A Theresa May watch. Yeah.
Did you title that?
I did title that. I title that. I mean, the thing is, with all of the people resigning from her campaign, it becomes, how do you govern in this scenario where all of these people have left? I mean, it's getting across this kind of mass, we don't like this. Then you get to the notion of the polls. Then you get to the notion of all of these, 1,300 people losing that local election. I mean, they're getting terrorized. Yeah. And then you get media, cacophony of media, screaming, resign. When is she going to resign? She has to resign. When is she going to resign? This isn't going to work. She has to resign. She can't come back. You know, like that. All of what. And then Jeremy Corbyn says a stinging thing that everybody knows is true. You have lost the authority to govern. And by the way, the fact that everybody knows that you're leaving because she kept offering her head, I'll resign. Just let me get through Brexit.
So do it.
I resign. Just let me get through Brexit. She was just saying, I just trying to get the withdrawal bill. She fought back the 1922 committee when they tried to take her out the office in the first place. They had even got to the point of changing the rules to try to get her out. Like, that's how bad they were trying to get her out. It got so bad that Theresa May said she started threatening them with Jeremy Corbyn. She started weaponizing Jeremy Corbyn. If you don't pass my Brexit, I am going to call a snap election, which she knows what meant Jeremy Corbyn wins.
Yeah.
They rebuffed her on that. She didn't even have the power to call it, meaning she lost the authority to command anything within Parliament, meaning you have to go. How can you be a prime minister and not be able to get through anything? So,
is she gone?
She's on June 7th. Theresa May's last day is June 7th.
Can she change the date again?
No. Like, to get it across, she's had multiple people trying to contact her, and she's been shooing them away because all of them are trying to come to her and say, leave. Her cabinet was plotting a coup to try to get her out of that office, having this kind of silent vote on how are we going to get, this is how bad it was, where all of these people are like, she has to go.
So she came out and said officially, June 7th.
So take a listen to this.
It's the last day.
June 7th.
For real.
For real. There are two parts of this that I want to show of her resignation. Now, my video, I was watching this at the time. I was up at like 4 a.m. while this was going on, just randomly up at 4 a.m. It's kind of like us being in Rome when the Pope shows up. Like, holy shit, the Pope is here. That's kind of how it was. And so I was like, all right, let's do the news. Theresa May is resigning. Theresa May watch. Now, there are two parts to the speech that is utterly ludicrous. So the first part, and keep in mind, this is the ending of a sad, broken, pathetic prime ministership that entirely failed at what she wanted to accomplish from the standpoint of Brexit, but made people's lives materially miserable. Miserable. Yeah, she has tears, but she's crying only for herself. I know at the time I was like, oh God, this feels so sad. But the more I think about this, the less I feel about this. Theresa May was responsible for the number of stabbings in London dramatically skyrocketed because they were having cuts to the police force. They had ambulances stuck outside because they had many cuts to the NHS. Literally, people dying in ambulances because they waiting to get to the hospital that are sitting in a hospital parking lot because they can't afford, because the NHS has been demolished to such a degree. Nurses, doctors, terrorized by the conditions at the NHS and hurt by those things. I mean, it's hard to get across how horrible this woman was. Universal credit, a system that just bashed the poor and made their lives difficult. Essentially, a system where the poor was always at this edge of not being able to eat because of the way the money was being allocated to them. Like, she made them essentially beg and always in the situation of poverty. And then you get into the racial stuff, where all of these people, what is called the Windrush generation, where these people were pretending to be not British citizens. And so it made a hostile environment for people who were British. They couldn't find places to live because landlords didn't want to deal with them in this way. Like, I just want to get across, she's crying, yes. But this is a horrible, miserable woman. And she did extremely bad things to people in the UK. So, and this ludicrous thing that she's about to say right here.
A matter of deep regret to me that I have not been able to deliver Brexit. It will be for my successor to seek a way forward that honours the result of the referendum. To succeed, he or she will have to find consensus in Parliament where I have not. Such a consensus can only be reached if those on all sides of the debate are willing to compromise. For many years, the great humanitarian Sir Nicholas Winton, who saved the lives of hundreds of children by arranging their evacuation from Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia through the Kindertransport, was my constituent in Maidenhead. At another time of political controversy, a few years before his death, he took me to one side at a local event and gave me a piece of advice. He said, "Never forget that compromise is not a dirty word."
The problem with this is she clearly forgot this piece of advice when she was going through those negotiations. Do you realize that she ran this all on her own? The only time she went to Jeremy Corbyn is after she was thoroughly defeated multiple times, like
Did
3
she
times.
write him a letter or something?
She was crushed by epic margins. Like, let's get across how thoroughly this failed. Theresa May negotiated a plan essentially closely with her cabinet, with Brussels. A plan that she didn't deal with Parliament on. She just brought back to Parliament and just assumed that Parliament was supposed to approve this deal. Parliament was about to vote on it, and she pushed it to the next month. And she begged, borrowed, pleaded for them to pass her bill. Begged. And they voted that bill down in historic, literally historic margins. Like, it's hard to get across the level of defeat. Any random prime minister would have resigned on the spot.
Yeah.
When they voted that bill down, most prime ministers would have just crumbled under that. But Theresa May took that almost as a personal thing to keep going. It's like the level of hatred that people were experiencing with her was matched by her resilience and continuing on. And she kept going. They voted it down again. Burkhouse said, I am not going to keep allowing the prime minister to bring the same bill back over and over and over and over again, because that's what she was doing.
Yeah.
She brought it back up again with just the withdrawal packet, voted it down again. And she stayed nonetheless. This is her bill. This is her baby. This is the thing that she worked for. And she stayed nonetheless. And only after that did she say, okay, I need labor's help. This woman, 3 minutes into her speech, is now screaming, we have to compromise. Compromise is not a dirty word. That's something that we need to do now. Get the fuck out of here. 3 years! 3 years! One last part. I love this. I mean, God, I love the politics of this, because she wants to bring in labor on this. Labor is not going to have anything of it. Labor, the Tories call for the Brexit. This is yours. We're not going to touch it. And this last sad part, last sad end to a pathetic prime ministership. Yes, I'm being brutal.
I do so with no ill will, but with enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
Oh, poor baby. Let's see that again.
Where's she going?
I love.
Oh,
I love.
look, babe.
I love. I love. I love.
All right, now you're being immature.
I love.
It's the country she loves, man. Now, here's the thing. If you love something, don't you treat it a little bit differently? If you're being a statesman, don't you seek compromise in the beginning because you're being above it all with regards to politics? And here's the other catch, though. If she was above it all, is Jeremy Corbyn going to be above it all? Fuck no, Jeremy Corbyn is going to put a knife in her chest. So, what is the point of her trying to be, when she knows that the opposition is not going to be that way?
Yeah.
Now, does
No compromise.
that give her an excuse to run this in this way? No, it doesn't. Because ultimately, you do have to some degree be above it all. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn, at the end, she puts Jeremy Corbyn in a position that tries to get him to be part of it. If she would have did that from the beginning, there was no way, regardless of what Corbyn wanted, he would have been able to pull back on that particular thing. Fact of the matter is, they're not going to give them any wins, meaning Labour is going to leave this entirely with the Conservative Party, while at the very least pretending as if they're willing to compromise. They're not willing to compromise. What they offered them was something that they could have never accepted, which Jeremy Hunt said as much. So Theresa May gave them a proposal that they couldn't accept. It's one of those things where it's not enough for Labour to accept, but it's enough for your party to completely reject you. Meaning you've been rejected by both sides of the aisle in this case, in which case you had to go. Jeremy Corbyn makes this point of, how on earth can any Labour leader make a deal with the Prime Minister that won't be here in 2 weeks? How could I do that? Meaning, there's no deal that you can ever put forth that we can accept. Now, she looked at that and says, see, they're not going to accept anything, but he's right. He's right. How can I accept something from you when you're going to be gone tomorrow? Oh, I love British politics.
June 7th. Should be going June 7th.
I love British politics, man. And because now, bring on the circus. Bring on Bojo the Clown. Because Boris Johnson is the lead in this at this point. Do you know who Boris Johnson is? Bojo?
I know. Yeah.
Womanizer? Serial liar? Bojo? Whatever you want to think of him, he's a massive presence. And even in the United States, people know him. The problem that the Tory problem has right now is that it is in the gutter in regards to popularity. I mean, the Brexit Party is going to trash them. They're barely even a party at this point in regard to the thing. Contributions have dried up. Again, another sign that they needed Theresa May out. So if you're bringing somebody in to run, that person needs to be a presence. Boris Johnson is a presence.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not a fan of Boris Johnson, clearly. Womanizer, liar, etc.
But maybe.
But they call for Brexit.
Wait.
They wanted Brexit. The problem that Britain has, honestly, is that the politics of the left, of the Labour Party, pushes it to make certain concessions like no deal needs to be off the table. That's nonsense. You're in a negotiation. But he's saying that because he wants to attack the prime minister on something that he knows that the public is terrified of. The problem with that is the moment that if Jeremy Corbyn takes power, they're going to sit across the table from Brussels and they're going to say the deal that the prime minister signed on, that's all we're willing to accept. And what is Jeremy Corbyn going to do? Accept the deal that he said was horrible and not acceptable by Theresa May? Or is he going to accept the no deal premise that he said was off the table? Which one is Jeremy Corbyn going to do? Like, this is fucking ridiculous in regards to politics. But this is what they've used in this kind of, intermediate expediency of trying to attack one another while you have this other external entity that is also having politics. It's fucking phenomenal. Now, if Corbyn gets in, Corbyn may say, he's never going to say no deal's off the table, but he's going to have a problem with that. Like, that's a contradiction in terms of regards to what he's accepted.
Calm down a little bit. Take a deep breath.
Well, my point is this. Boris Johnson doesn't have that contradiction. Boris Johnson has already said, we are leaving on October 31st with or without a deal. Fuck off. And the catch is, everybody knows he's right. Everybody knows that he believes that. Meaning, when he gets up in the morning, 3 a.m. between him and his guy, Bojo says, we're leaving on the 31st. Fuck off. Fuck off. Which means that the European Union says, oh my God. Now, what is the European Union going to do? Are they going to really keep their lines in the face of somebody who they know that he would drag taking Britain out of it? Or are they going to bend? There's no opportunity for them to bend with Theresa May because they know she's a Remainer. Meaning, they already know that she has a line, per se. The catch is, Theresa May kept saying no deal has to be on the table because you're in a negotiation. And she's right, even though Corbyn hit her for saying it. Bojo is going to say it, and he's going to mean it. That's the catch. Now, the question is, are they going to have a general election before then? Because...
Okay, so what this... Okay, wait. You going...
Like, this is fucking fascinating politics, but all of this is related to her resigning. Okay, because all of that kicked in the moment that Theresa May left office.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Is like, so what's next? So she's leaving. Finally,
bring on the circus.
It's been years of shenanigans.
Bojo.
Okay.
Bojo is next.
So do they hold elections?
They hold elections. They're going to have elections. Whoa, wait. Internal elections. Only the Conservatives.
Right.
There's no, there's no general election that's being called. And that's the catch. That's the question. The Conservatives are going to bring in a prime minister that does not have the support of the public because the public hasn't had a vote on it. There's been no vote. So when he gets in office, what is he going to do? Is he really going to try to push through Brexit without the support of the public? Or is he going to call a general election? And that's the question. So Labour's argument in this is, if you're Labour, we need to get Theresa May out. That creates a destabilization in the government. We're going to howl at the height of our lungs for a general election, but at the very least, if she's out, the next person who comes in has no mandate from the public to do anything. Meaning that person will be much more likely to call a general election, which is what we want anyway. So that's the politics of Labour. In the Tory party, they got to choose Bojo. They can't choose anybody else. They have to. And I look at this and say, I'm terrified of this choice because Bojo is a presence, and he is he's a threat. He's a real threat, as opposed to running against Theresa May, who was toxic. I would have loved him to run against Theresa May. Bojo, but the catch is, Jeremy Corbyn can't enact his policies in the EU, and Jeremy Corbyn is a Eurosceptic. If you talk to him at a bar, he would say, fucking European Union. He can't do the things he wants. He can't nationalize the railroads under the European Union's plan. He can't nationalize the energy markets under European... Like, those things are off the table. It's even questionable whether or not they can even save the steel company that's going to go bankrupt in the UK under the European Union. So, he's arguing, per se, of leaving with this kind of Remainer-ish Blairites on his side. Bojo doesn't have that. Bojo's issue is, yes, I'm taking us out, and everybody knows he means it. Meaning, either you make a deal, or I ain't taking us out, full stop. That's where we're at. So, what the European Union is saying, nothing changes. We don't care who you guys change your election to. We don't care. Nothing changes. Your prime minister, as failed and disgraced as she is, negotiated a deal, and that's the deal that we're going to stick with. We are willing to fudge stuff around the edges, but the deal is the deal is the deal.
Right. Okay.
Which means everybody is preparing for a no-deal Brexit because Boris Johnson is not going to accept it. This is fucking
So
fascinating politics, man.
So all right, let me go through, pull up Streamlabs while we're doing this. Well, that's the end of this.
That's the end of this one, yeah.
So GDNPB, thank you. He says, JT, Theresa May will be okay. I hear she's opening a traditional African dance studio in the West End.
Oh, God. I'm not going to show that video.
No.
I'm not going to show that video.
All right, let's check out our...
All right. Kills for a living. To all y'all Tulsi supporters, she has no shot. She's boring, sick of it for the 100th time. She needs a lot of bikini pics or a sex tape or some kind of scandal. Nobody but political nerds knows about her. Give up your delusion. This is...
We'll talk about it.
He doesn't understand. He's missing a point. You're missing something. The goal, there are objectives sometimes that goes beyond taking the king. You know what I mean? Like, every objective is not winning outright. There's some wins that don't necessarily seem like wins from people who only are interested in taking the king. Like, we're having a conversation right now that's firmly to the left. Firmly. When Obama was in office, the conversation was, public option. And it wasn't even that, really, because as soon as Obama got in, that went off the table. Like, it is hard to get across the latitude shift between then and now. And you're telling, but somebody would say, well, Sanders lost. Did he? I mean, if Sanders wins the primary, becomes president, did he? I mean, what he did at that time was essentially put in something that grew into...
What do you mean, in 2016?
In 2016. I mean...
He's moved the conversation.
He's moved the over to window to the left.
Would have been
my point is this. Tulsi, in this race, I don't think she's trying to win the presidency.
She's doing what Bernie did in 2016.
She's doing what Sanders did in 2016.
Because at one point in 2016, Bernie said he didn't think he was going to win.
I don't think Sanders thought he had any chance of winning. But again, every win is not what other people define to be the win as.
Right.
There are some wins that are specific objectives. And in that case, move the conversation to the left is exactly what he did. And by the way, New York has changed their... Have you seen this? Their primary system. Beforehand, New York, you had to be like almost like a year ahead of the primaries before you could vote in the primaries of the Democratic thing. Yeah, they shortened that window to like 2 months. Don't quote me on that, but shorten it. Look, Tulsi's point in this race is not to win it. Tulsi's point is to shift the conversation on war.
Yeah.
And I don't understand your issue with that. Like, she's in a race saying, we need to have less war. Like, bitch needs to get out the race. She has no chance.
Well, okay, so this is my thing.
It's like, that's not her objective.
I know, but most people, a lot of people, I don't know, maybe just him, and I've had the thought at one time, is like, well, why are all these people running if they're not really going to get elected, or if they don't believe that they could win the seat?
Some are trying to increase their profile.
I know, but I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of behind the scenes or a lot of ulterior motives for running for presidency other than to become president.
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway
Perfectly
here.
put.
Yeah.
Perfectly put.
All right, so we got one more.
You have no idea how much I disagree with you, Kills for a living. And even if you think she's boring, what does it matter?
She is boring. She's boring.
I don't think she needs a sex tape, though.
I don't think she needs a sex tape. I don't think anybody needs a sex tape.
I think she needs to stop meditating.
But I think she needs to, like, take up some kickboxing classes. Well, no.
She needs to stop meditating.
No, I don't think that's the answer.
That's it. She's too chill. She needs to be less chill.
She needs to take, like, not some acting classes, but, like, some speech I don't know.
No,
she's boring.
It's not.
She needs to, like...
I'm telling you, the issue here is she's so chill. That's what it is. It's this kind of meditative thing of, I want to remain centered, I want to remain calm,
So you want her to get off-center?
Yes.
Off balance, off kilter.
Because, look, whatever you think about it, you need to engage people on the wavelength to which they're engaged in. If my kid is ill, I don't want you to be centered. You know what I mean? If I have all of this debt that's weighing on me, I'm angry. I need you to be attached to that. Now, if we're attacked, I want you to be centered. You know,
but it seems like almost kind of like this robotic. She sounds like she's like trying to calm everyone down.
She is.
And I am always, and it's like, no, I want you to get hyped with me on some of this stuff.
On some of it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't just be this enraged monster
I don't want you to be
all over
that
the
way.
place that stomps around, but every now and then.
But there are things.
Show some passion.
There are things. If your kid is shot, you're angry. If your kid is ill,
she's gonna have that monotone.
You're angry. Like if you're in a situation where you feel there's been such massive injustice, let's say, they get this massive tax cut when your house is being foreclosed on. You're angry. Like, these are things that you find to be injustices, and that to some degree enrages you. Now, Tulsi is talking to me in this kind of, we are going to take the White House, and we are going to this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to, and you're like, I'm not feeling her, because she doesn't feel me. Because if she felt me, she'd be pissed off. It's that. When Sanders is giving a speech, he's not enraged through the entire speech. When he starts talking about billionaires, a socialist comes out.
But there are some times where it's like, it's a little bit more emotion kind of gets your point across more accurately.
Like I said, if we're attacked by a country, yes, I want you to be calm. I want you to be deliberate. Like, that's not where I want you to flip it out. The things that I want you to be passionate about are things that touch families and that really are deep injustices that burn into individuals. Because those are the things that people feel something about. Yeah. And if you're talking to me in a way that you don't feel it, then I don't think you feel it.
You don't get the gravity.
You don't get the gravity of it.
Because you've got no emotion or any kind of passion about it.
Yeah, the emotion is a coloring on it.
Darren Alevi, just before we move completely away from the UK stuff, he says the Conservative Party in the UK is like the Democrats. We have 20 candidates running to replace May.
Yeah.
Many are running
Bojo's
to stop
gonna get
Boris.
it.
Yeah.
Bojo's going to get it. Bojo has to get it. He has to get it.
And that's one of the things about the 2020 elections is that there are 22 people. I don't know. I can't keep track. 22 Dems on this. Yeah, possibly. And they are running to enact superdelegates. I can't think of the right terminology. Not enact, but make it so the superdelegates have to go like the second round.
Oh, second round.
I'm looking for? Yeah.
Well, some of them want the second round. In fact, I would even argue that their political strategy may be the second round.
Right, and that's why there's so many.
Because if you get a corporate Democrat, like say for example, if they think Sanders is going to be a weapon in this race, we don't know if we can take him down in the first round. However, there's a lot of superdelegates in the party that hate his guts, and they may vote against him, meaning the superdelegates become active in the second round. It may be political strategy.
So many are on the ticket. Somebody said it's 24, 25 now. I can't keep up.
But it may be like if you were in second place, if your name is Elizabeth Warren, you wanted to go to the second round.
Right.
You want it, like, because you don't think you can get it on the first round. You wanted to go to the second round. Like, you're not thinking about whether you could beat Trump or not. You figure, I solve that problem when I get to that problem. Your goal is, I don't know if we could beat Sanders first round. We need to make sure that he doesn't get it on the first round. I guarantee you that's the strategy. Mm-hmm. And whether that's from the DNC or what, just from the own political actors involved in the process, you can end up with that solution just because, Sanders' thought is, I got to blow this shit out in the first round. I guarantee you that's the stuff. We got to win it in the first round. Otherwise, we're going to get fucked in the second.
Yeah.
Oh, politics, man. Like, it's fascinating in this kind of chessboard way when you, like, if you're detached. Let's say you don't care about what takes place. You're just in regards to just power plays, in regards to, how, and the things people do in order to try to take power. That's fucking fascinating. It really is. Don't get me wrong. Gross sometimes. Where they end up, but fascinating nonetheless. All right.
John Illum, before we move on, he says neo-libs to give their delegates to the top neo-lib to push the primary to round 2, where delegates can steal it from Bernie.
Yeah, that's what I think.
If Tulsi is popular enough, she will give her D's to Bernie to stop the second round.
But also, it allows leeway for Sanders on foreign policy. She gives him cover on the left from issues of foreign policy. Like I said, if Sanders didn't ask Tulsi to get into the race, then he's, bad move Sanders. Like she will be assistance enough.
Ooh, on you. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're good for that one.
All right, let's go to the Afghanistan one.
All right, let me read the topic first. Okay, so we've got about
okay, I'll read the progressive one, yeah.
We've got about 200. Wait, which one?
Let's do the progressive one if you're going to read it.
Oh, all right. Well, I was going to read them all. All right, so we got about 250 people here. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. That makes it more prominent for people who are online, so we get more viewers, more people to come join the party. All right, so patron appreciation viewer topic. This week, the next one that we're touching on is from Chris G. So Chris G asked last week, well, a couple weeks ago, we kind of answered this, talking about why progressives like TYT, Sam Cedar, David Packman feel the need to continuously tell us that they are progressives, and then they favor Warren over Gabbard. And we kind of addressed it, is that they're not real progressives. That was the takeaway from that. But he also Went on to say,
what is Warren's foreign policy?
Well, wait, let me finish this. I've heard Cenk Uygur say a few times that some people would argue Warren is more progressive than Sanders. And then you see his interview with Gabbard and see Kasparian shit all over Tulsi. Yeah. I just don't understand the motive and don't get why it seems to be the three entities mostly allied with the Dem Party, TYT, Cedar, and
well, right there, you just answered the question. You have networks that are in alliance with the Democratic Party favoring somebody who's a Democrat.
Representative of the Democratic Party.
And understand, to some degree, this is a negotiation on our part between the ruling class and the masses. Which of these candidates are we willing to give you? Because keep in mind, Elizabeth Warren has already said, after the primaries, I am taking
money,
campaign donations.
Everybody's money.
I'm taking everybody's money because I don't think we should unilaterally disarm. Which means that I'm only doing this for the primary suckers. Because if I take campaign cash, I can't get elected through the primaries. That's her point. Which should already give you qualms about supporting Elizabeth Warren on this. TYT and Sam Cedar are just shills for the Democratic Party. I mean, come on. Yeah. I don't know why people are questioning this. Look at their shows. And it's not that they're not going to be lefty on some issues, fair enough. But, I don't know Elizabeth Warren's foreign policy. And I strongly suspect, though, that the foreign policy is more in line with the Democratic Party. And I would wager that her foreign policy regarding Israel is pretty hawkish. Like, those are things that, it's a hard sell to me of, yes, Warren is great on some of the policy issues internally in the country, and yes, but she's a neocon and a hawk and all this other stuff and some other stuff. And she'll tell you, I'm a capitalist. Flat out, I'm a capitalist. She's trying to make herself passable. Like, she's passable to the Democratic elite and ruling class, but she's also enough compromise, kind of like Macron trying to give things away to try to appease the Yellow Vest movement. We're trying to take the winds out of the sails of the lefties in this country, and we think that we can do this by putting in Elizabeth Warren, who will offer a little bit of stuff, but keep the system intact. We can take this shit back later. We don't want to change the system. Just touch it. And we put out people like Sam Cedar, who works at MSNBC, and people like Cenk Uygur, who gets a ton of money, millions of dollars, from Katzenberg. I don't understand why Cenk Uygur and these other guys are supporting this person that, MSNBC already supports. I mean, come on. She's a creature of the Democratic Party and the Democratic talking machines. Yeah. Prove her. That's all. I mean, there's no there to it other than that. That's all.
Now, so let's talk about the interview that TYT did. Oh, well, wait, let's read the super chats before I go on. Yeah. So Tara Thralls, she didn't give any text, but she did give a super chat. So thank you. Mercedes Cowley, thank you. Says Mrs. T needs her own show and JT can be the guest. I don't see that happening. But thank you.
I've told her she can do her own series, and you have your own series.
Oh, also, just really quickly,
Organize it with Sanders.
I am doing. A lot of people are interested in that because some people aren't really into burning. But in regards to what is a grassroots movement and what's it like to be kind of like on the ground in the grassroots movement.
Yeah. I mean, we're like
I've been doing some stuff with the Bernie Sanders campaign to see what the hell is going on, and so I am doing that series. It's like a look inside the grassroots movement. That'll be here on the channel, but that's pretty much as far as I'm gonna get into solo missions. There's a Streamlabs that we need to check on now. So that's what I was gonna say. Let's talk about...
Let me read the Streamlabs. Brexit solution. Here's a good Brexit solution. Let Bojo the clown, the Tories, UKIP, and all the other idiots leave the European Union. Britain will choose not to go through with Brexit, and all the idiots that have been attempting to fuck over Britain can bugger off. Here's the catch, man. Most of the Brexit stuff has been from the right wing, but there is a left wing argument for Brexit. It just gets drowned out by people who are screaming about immigrants and all this other stuff. But the Nigel Farages of the world are comical and utterly absurd. I am sorry. They have one party platform. Leave. What else? That's it. And then the question becomes, well, what's the other stuff? We'll fill it in later. Why are people signing up to a party that only has one thing? It's just weird.
We'll work it out as we go.
We'll work it out later. But Nigel Farage is a right-winger. He's a hardcore right-winger. So, the stuff that he's working out is going to be, we should have a healthcare system more like America. And it's like, what? What the fuck are you talking about?
Does anybody say that?
Yeah, he is. I mean, that's him. That's him. That's the way he thinks. Like, he's a right-winger. He doesn't say that stuff because that stuff loses votes. He just wants to focus on Brexit.
Yeah. Donald Smead, he said, if the superdelegates steal this from the Byrne or other real progressives, the Democratic Party will pop like a balloon.
They would lose. Tulsi, I agree that it's important to have her in the debates in the race, but her chances of actually becoming president are incredibly slim. I agree with that. With that. If the DNC is willing to cheat Bernie with his numbers, his kowtows, and his funding, they'll cheat her too.
I think this kind of goes in line with the... we lost our color. I think this kind of goes in line with the people running for the presidency not really expecting to become president.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they'll go out there and on their platform and in their speeches, they'll say, we're going to win this.
Yeah, but they don't believe it.
But you know what I mean?
They don't believe that. It's just what they have to say.
Tara Thralls says, Tulsi isn't anti-war. She's pro-drone, which is pro-murder.
All presidents are pro-drones. If you want to call it that. All. Every last one of them. It's not that I like it. Don't misunderstand me. It's not that I like it at all. But what is your alternative? Like, what's the like, everything else on this particular issue, if we're talking about a graph, she gets me further ahead than anybody else on this issue of war. So why would I, Sanders is my horse, don't misunderstand me. But I love having her on the debate stage, having those issues talked about.
Yeah.
And if she has no chance of winning at all, then what does it matter? She can be on the debate stage. She's a non-factor according to those people. So to me, it's just a win. It's a plus.
Judd Hurst says this. It's not a super chat, but this popped up. In case anybody doesn't know, if you're just here, I'm reading the comments below so I can make sure I catch super chats and some of the chats that are going on. But Judd Hurst says, a drone is just a tool. How you use it is what matters.
Yes.
We also have real enemies out there. Not all these terrorists are proxies.
Yes.
All right, so can we do this one?
Yeah.
You want to pull that up?
Just one point about Elizabeth Warren. Part of the problem of, this difficulty of being a network when you're talking about candidates and stuff like that is that even if you're on the standpoint of the left and you choose a candidate on the left, you exclude other candidates. I do it. I like Sanders. I try to talk about the other ones, but my focus is clearly going to be on the people that I like. This is not necessarily a news show, even though it gives news. It's even named me. It's my perspective. But TYT calls himself a news network, and they've chosen Elizabeth Warren in lieu of the other candidates. I guess I don't have a full issue with that. It's just when you get the opportunity to ask Warren questions, they don't do it. They've had Warren on that show twice, and they're misrepresenting the fact that she is going to take money after the primaries. It's like they're fundamentally misrepresenting that. Uger lies to his audience on Twitter about that stuff. And it's like, this is the candidate that MSNBC and the Democratic Party, to some degree, is trying to put out there as, is she enough? Is she enough? Is she enough? Is this the person? Will you bite? Will you bite? Will you bite? Oh, they bit. She's amiable to them. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's this negotiation that's taking place of who's the least that we can give them that we're willing to bite on. Elizabeth Warren being, that's the person who they're biting on. Macron is doing the same thing. Okay, we'll get rid of a few taxes. Okay, the diesel subsidy. Okay, you can keep your pensions. We're going to increase the, no, we're not getting rid of those tax cuts, though. Those tax cuts are staying. We're going to pay for this stuff out of debt, meaning you're essentially paying for your own stuff in this way. But that's all that's taking place in this. But there's an awesome conversation or video
interview
between Glenn Greenwald and Lula da Silva. Amazing interview. And this is a great example of somebody who admires the person who's in jail that he's interviewing, but is skeptical of the person. Like, he's aggressively going after Lula in that interview, despite loving Lula.
I kind of feel like you still have an obligation
to ask difficult questions.
To ask questions.
And
right,
follow
to
up.
ask real questions instead of, kind of softball interviews.
Especially when it's something people want to know. Like, I watched that interview with Elizabeth Warren. He asked her a really good question. Why did you choose Clinton over Sanders? Or why didn't you make a choice? She gives some bullshit answer of, I think we had a great primary. How do you think that? Why do you think that?
Say?
He moved on.
Yeah.
Now, the problem here is she just lied to you. Why do you believe you had a great primary? You have people screaming out. You have people crying at the primaries. Elizabeth Warren herself has a video where she's saying they rigged it. And then the very next day, they didn't rig it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is... And now I'm supposed to support this, woman who's schizophrenic, who doesn't know where she stands, who easily gets pushed to and fro by the party, who can't even come out and support the guy who's supposedly within her sandbox?
Yeah.
No! I don't forgive her for that shit at all. And then Standing Rock? I remember we were at the apartment in the West End, at the house in the West End. And I remember when I told you, I said, they're going in. I mean, this was when it was like they were Standing Rock, the Native Americans were fighting this notion of them taking their land. And Obama was silent on this. Like, he was like, we're going to let it play out. Now, he's telling them we're going to let this play out while they were like shooting arms off, exploding stuff on these guys. I mean, they were injuring the population of Native Americans trying to defend their land. And it became clear that Obama wasn't going to do anything. And finally, at the last minute, where you had these guys, these troops who said, we're going to Standing Rock, and we're going to go there and let them beat us in order to protect the Native. Obama came out and said, okay, well, I'm putting in an injunction. He stopped that shit on the spot. The last thing he wanted to see are Marines getting their ass kicked by cops at the behest of an oil company. Now, at the point where Trump comes in, it's like, okay, that's going to be turned over. I remember you cried about that. Now, you did, because your thought was, those people are getting slaughtered. And the federal government in this case is not doing squat to help. And it's true. And you ask, where were these people on this? Well, Tulsi Gabbard was out on this saying, this is a travesty. What was Elizabeth Warren? Mom. You know when Elizabeth Warren finally came in? At the very end, when Obama put his in. That's when she put her thing, too little, too late. Like, I lose respect for her, and this notion that people are supposed to show up for her when she can't show up for major fucking issues that aren't supposed to be issues of politics, but issues of, I'm making this because it's right. That's a problem. So, they can push Elizabeth Warren all they want. This is fucking nonsense. She can't stand up for anybody else, but she wants people to stand up for her.
John Ilham, he says, I think this is with a continuation of the Streamlabs that we read. He says, my point was that if you want Bernie to win, it's essential that Tulsi is in the race.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. Not to mention, again, she pushes him to the left. She really does.
Markel Kaya says the Otaku Party Alliance is the political representation of art and artists. Hashtag OPA.
And what is Otaku? Say that one more time. Otaku Party Alliance?
Otaku Party Alliance. I'm writing it down.
I've never heard of
I'm
that.
not familiar with that, so we'll have to check into that.
All right. And there's...
Do we have
I read this one.
before we go?
Drone. Wait, did that person just make the drone don't kill people, people kill people argument? Predator drones have no function other than killing people or getting information to kill people. But the drone doesn't just get off the ground by itself. I mean, come on. Let's be fair. Like, it's not a situation... No, hold on. It's not a situation where that drone has a mind of its own. Nor does that drone just say, I'm going to go out and whack somebody. At least, not yet. At some point, the drone is going to do that. But it is a situation. You might say that the drone makes it easier to kill people. That's fair. And you can even say that the drone allows a capability that incentivizes this particular thing to be used. Meaning, we have a problem, and this tool allows us to do this job easier. So it's like, if I had to go out and kill a cow in order to eat meat, I may be a vegetarian. But the fact that the meat is already killed in the supermarket, it's easier for me to eat. So I am not going to be a vegetarian, thereby allowing this industry to propagate itself. So, fair enough. But it is a tool. I mean, I don't know how that's an argument. It's like the gun is a tool. You can make an argument and say it makes it easier to kill. Yes. Agreed. You can even say there's more killings because of it. Agreed. You can even say it incentivizes it. Agreed. But the drone isn't doing the killing, it's the person.
All right, so Tulsi.
Wait. Am I wrong on that? I mean, is that true? Like, when I think about that, it is like, until you get a situation where the tool gets up and does it by itself, then you're stuck with the man.
It's based on the person who's navigating it.
Right. But you can make an argument that the very fact that it's in existence. No.
the problem.
No. In and of itself, yeah. The very fact that it's in existence is still the person. It didn't create itself. I guess that's the point. that tool didn't come into existence out of its own. That tool came into existence from people creating that tool. Like, this is not a... Yeah, I disagree with that. It's a tool. It makes it easier, yes. It incentivizes it, yes. But let's be very clear that it is men that is doing this.
Go back. There's one Streamlabs that we missed. So Tulsi, I agree that it's important to have her in the debates.
I read that.
Oh, okay.
We were talking about that.
One. That was the one that he responded to. My bad.
Yeah.
Okay. I flipped him backwards. All right. So can we go into
Afghanistan terrorism?
No, number 4.
Well, we can do this one quick.
Okay.
It'll be fast.
Oh, all right. So, sorry, I'm a little bit behind. So, another topic suggestion this week came from where is it, babe?
I don't know.
There was a lot of topic suggestions this week, and then people were commenting, so I'm having to go through.
Well,
this is from Fred Edward. Sorry. I have it here, but I want to read what he actually said. Fred Edward says, can you connect the dots from Afghanistan and bin Laden funded against Russia to Al-Qaeda and the current war on terror with U.S. agencies arming and funding the Wahhabi Salafi terrorists in league with Saudis? He says Max Blumenthal's new book in almost mind-blowing detail. So he's asking you to connect the dots between Afghanistan and bin Laden to U.S. arming and funding terrorists.
I'm gonna have to get my Blumenthal's book, because Blumenthal tends to be really detailed. Like, if you ever heard him speak, no, I haven't read it. And if you ever heard him speak, Blumenthal tends to be, he's like naming names, and he's like, this guy's connected to this guy, connected to this. Like, he's extremely good with that stuff. I in no way can do that much. Can go into detail like he could on that stuff. He's been researching that stuff for a while.
What do you know the name of the new book? Do we know the
Management of Savagery, I think.
Okay, that's Max Blumenthal.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I can talk about on that I do know is, so the Soviet Union has its own Vietnam. And that sounds weird because, Vietnam drained the United States, our inventory, drains our resources, country pride, because it felt like that was a war we lost. Afghanistan was the Soviet Union's Vietnam. Now, here's the catch. People thought, those horrible Soviets, they're invading Afghanistan and they're attacking those people, those fucking Soviets. What we did not know, what the public didn't know, was that a plan that the United States had enacted was in order to kind of embroil the Soviet Union into its own Vietnam and to draw them into a conflict into Afghanistan. Now, part of this was radicalizing the elements that were in Afghanistan and supporting those radicalized elements in order to fight harder against the Soviets. We wanted them to lose, and we wanted to do it in a proxy war way, where we could say our hands weren't on it. Catch is, we did not know, meaning the U.S. public did not know our hands were on it. The Soviets knew our hands were on it because they have an intelligence apparatus, just like we have an intelligence apparatus, and they could tell that we were dumping money into it. Seeing that we were dumping money into these groups, Soviets invaded Afghanistan. Now, this guy is...
Who's this cat?
This is Brzezinski. Mika, his daughter, is on Morning Joe every morning.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, this is her dad. Brzezinski is having a conversation here with the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen eventually becomes Al-Qaeda. The people who essentially supposedly bombed us on 9/11 and who we were supposedly fighting in Iraq. Mind you, there was no Al-Qaeda in Iraq until we took down Saddam Hussein, after which Al-Qaeda was all over the place. One of the fun facts that the American public don't necessarily really think about is that strong men don't like terrorists. If you're a strong man, you kind of like control.
Oh, right.
You like, fucking iron fists. I don't want people defying my authority in this case. They tend not to like terrorists. Bashar al-Assad does not like people blowing shit up and ripping shit in Syria. Saddam Hussein would not have tolerated that either. And you're talking about a strong man with absolute authority. He could do whatever the fuck he wants to whatever terrorist is in the country. And mind you, with the backing of the U.S. Oh, that's when it gets interesting. Did you know that during the war, there was a war between Iraq and Iran? the United States and British public hits Iran for this and says, oh, you guys were in a brutal war, missing the fact that Saddam Hussein attacked Iran.
Right.
Iran was defending itself in that war, including the U.S. knowing that they were using nuclear or chemical weapons. Reagan turned a blind eye. He didn't care because it was against an enemy at that point. And then Saddam got on Bush's bad side, and Bush comes out, he's like, he's a dictator! He's a new Hitler! We gotta take him out of office. He's unhinged in that speech. I shit you not. He's unhinged in that speech because calling Saddam Hussein the new, dictator because he went into Kuwait and Saudi Arabia got freaked out. It was, oh my God, this guy who was working on behalf of us to take down the egalitarian guy, he's now going after Saudi, he maybe hit Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's freaked out. Kuwait's freaked out. The security pact kicks in. The United States pushes him out, but it doesn't go all the way. So now, because he doesn't go all the way, Saddam Hussein reasserts power and massacres a shitload of people in this process. His son comes in and, of course, takes down Saddam Hussein. My point is this. There was no terrorists in Iraq before the United States bashed it to pieces. And in bashing it to pieces, we disbanded the military. All of these guys with long beards, big guns, go roaming through the countrysides now into these other various cliques, becoming members of a resistance force, freedom fighters, trying to kick out the American, you could say the American state in this case, who's invaded their country. Now, whatever you want to think of them, they may be religious maniacs. They may be using religion as their call. I hate to say it, but we used religion also when we were pushing back against whites in this country. We just were violent because the means of operation was different. But black Muslims were thinking about doing it, thinking of this more militant fashion of pushing these guys, like using religion as a basis. I guess my point is this. The character of resistance takes on depending on the culture and everything else, but it's still resistance nonetheless. We created a hornet's nest. The key point here, though, is to some degree, all of this goes all the way back to this. Right here. This is Brzezinski. Brzezinski worked under Jimmy Carter as a national security advisor, but he also, was a Polish diplomat, American diplomat before that. Listen to what he tells these guys.
Revealing America's role. On the Afghan border near the Khyber Pass, he urged the soldiers of God to redouble their efforts.
We know of their deep belief in God, and we are confident that their struggle will succeed. That land over there is yours. You'll go back to it one day because your fight will prevail and you'll have your homes and your mosques back again.
This guy, he's an American, telling these religious fighters, like, look, go over there and fight. You're the army of God. God is on your side. Go kick some ass. And eventually we start giving weapons and resources. Wilson's War, we even make a movie about it. Have you seen this? The Wilson's War thing? Where he petitions Congress, is a womanizing congressman, goes and get funding. They made a whole thing out of it. A movie out of it. Him getting funding in order to give those things, those anti-aircraft missiles and anti-tank missiles to Afghanistan's. Because Soviets were mowing them down with their aircrafts. Because these guys are out there just fighting on horseback and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the U.S. was like, all right, they're getting massacred. We need to help them out. How can we help them out? We can give them rocket packs. So they gave these guys rockets. And now the rockets were able to take down the helicopters. Now the movie was like, yes, we were punching new Soviets in the nose. Brzezinski was like, this was a plot or a plan in order to strategically put a wedge within the Soviet Union and to force them to use their resources in this region to give us a bloody nose like Vietnam. This was politics on a big scale. These people were part of designs that they didn't necessarily were aware of, and yet they were part of somebody else's design. This is always fascinating to me. All of these people would say, we have agency. We're doing what we want to do. This is exactly what we want to do. We wake up every morning, we make it a choice to do this. Brzezinski is out there like, yes! Go out, army of God, and fight those fucking Soviets. And he goes back home, he drinks his Starbucks, he drinks his cappuccino, he gets his pedicure and manicure, and he's like, all right, those guys are proxies, they're kicking some ass out there. Like, this is what was taking place.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, though, hell, it was even in Rambo. Do you remember, I think it was Rambo 5, where Rambo is on the horseback, and Rambo is on a camel and he's fighting the Soviets. You don't remember this?
A camel or horseback?
He's on a camel. No, well, wait a minute. At one point he's on a camel, but on another part he's on horseback.
No, I don't remember Rambo 5.
I think it was Rambo 5. Even like it leaks into our media without us knowing what it is. Like the fact that we're supporting, it's like we're getting involved in these foreign conflicts. Fact of the matter is that group that he's radicalizing here becomes Al Qaeda.
When was this video?
This was like 20, 30 years ago. I mean, this was back in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
1989.
Okay. Operation Cyclone is what the United States was calling this mission in order to radicalize these guys and get them to fight the Soviets. Isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing? Now, if you don't know that, say you don't know that. Say that that's not something in your political memory. And you're having a conversation with somebody and you say, yeah, they can never get themselves straight over there. Like, they always have, they're always having these problems over there.
There's a little bit of a reason why.
I mean, Muslims just can't have a government that governs themselves in this way. It's like, you realize Pakistan is a Muslim country, And it's like, you realize that there hasn't been a situation where we weren't intruding into their affairs in this way, especially after oil. After oil, the Muslim community, that country was essentially taken. And if I'm not mistaken, what they're talking about are Arab Muslims. Because there are other countries that are Muslim countries that just happen to be like more Asian. Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken, is a Muslim country.
Fred Edwards says the U.S. supplied Saddam Hussein with chemical weapons, for fuck's sake.
Isn't that fucked up?
Fred, that's pretty slick what you're doing. He's talking specifically to me, so it's popping up on my thing. He says, oh, no.
Go ahead.
No, he was clarifying for fuck's sake wasn't against us. It was against the fact that they were supplying weapons. We got that. Yeah.
I mean, I gotta be honest, there's some stuff that I was astonished by. Like the weapons tests. Like we put those people back on that island. Oh God, what is the name of those islands? What's the name of the islands? Knowing after we did nuclear tests in order to see the effects of nuclear weapons. When you go to the State Department and say, well, I mean, it wasn't for that reason. It's like nonsense. You knew that island was radioactive. You knew that you were sending those people back to the island. You knew you told those people that the island was going to be safe, and it wasn't safe to any degree. Like, oh, man. The things that we do. Like, and it's like, if this was another country, we'd be on their shit. Like, it would be astonishing. If China did all of that, what would the perspective of the U.S. be? If Russia did all of that, the first thing we do is only talk about the stuff that they were doing. Like, it's astonishing. All right, let's go to this one. Niko Weaponized. We can skip this one.
Okay, can you go back to the I don't even know what that says. Can you go back to our YouTube thing? Oh, let me do the spiel while you pull that up.
What YouTube thing? You mean
the YouTube window? I want to see how far into the video we are. 1 hour 17. Okay. Yeah, all right. So if you're just joining us, thank you. We're at about 250 people here. If you haven't given the video a thumbs up, don't forget to do that. This is the weekly patron appreciation show. Once a week, we give patrons and other contributors the opportunity to submit topics. Jamarl will take a look, and today is the day that we set aside to go over what the contributors want to discuss. So of course the show is live, and that will be pushed exclusively to the Patreon platform for patron viewing only. Earlier contributors. Right, contributors. So if you're contributing outside of Patreon, we want to make sure that you have the content. So email us and we can give you access to an exclusive kind of Facebook group where the content is pushed to as well. Also, earlier, I mentioned this week that someone didn't know what Patreon was. So I mean, it's fair. I didn't know.
I'm not laughing at them. I'm just situation.
But yeah, so if you're not aware, Patreon is when you are watching somebody on YouTube and you say, yes, I want to support their work, and you make a commitment anywhere from as little as $1 to say monthly, I'm going to give to support the content. And so that's why this started out as Patron Appreciation, was to thank those people who are doing those monthly donations. We are taking information, topic suggestions from people outside of that, like I just said. So if you're interested in submitting your topic, let us know. Make sure if you're a patron, you're logging in regularly for the content. Anything I forgot?
Perfect.
You can. What is this?
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's my spiel.
But on
Consider
the
being
other
a
hand,
patron. Everybody can contribute monetarily. So we understand,
Democratic Socialism.
but it does help to thumbs up the video so that he knows what's good content.
Like it,
and subscribe.
thumbs up,
Just
subscribe,
come back.
share.
Just come back and view the videos.
In fact, not just that, like, you might have to hit the button twice because apparently YouTube is doing weird stuff.
Yeah, make sure if you are subscribed that you hit the bell notification so that you get the bell icon so that you get notifications. And what that does is let you know when he's doing a video, because he does like several per day. For me, they've been coming up pretty regularly. So
they have?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
They've been coming up pretty regularly.
I don't remember if I've done this video yet.
So yeah, we're going to get into the next topic. So far, we've gone over progressives supporting Elizabeth Warren over Tulsi Gabbard, the tie between Afghanistan war and current
I'm sorry.
U.S. agencies arming terrorists. And we talked about, of course, Theresa May last day, May Day. Is June 7th. So let's get into the next topic.
I want to do this one. I just want to show the video.
What the hell is this?
So Sanders has released a new
This
video
ain't on my list.
against Trump. And this video is brutal. And it gives you... It's an interesting thing, right? If you notice, when Hillary Clinton and Sanders were running, at a certain point, Clinton started just only running ads against Trump because she was going to be running against Trump. In this case, Bernie Sanders, they're like a year and a half out and he's releasing videos against Trump. Now, part of this is I want people to see me, that my goal in this is to be against Trump. And there's a certain presidential elevation by having me attack Trump, even though I haven't gotten through the primaries yet. Does it make sense? It's a leveling up of mano a mano. Even though you haven't necessarily finished this other thing yet, you're still positioning this yourself as a person who's running against him.
So what the hell is this?
It's an attack that I strongly suspect is going to be what Sanders uses to go against Trump.
Have you seen this video already?
Yes, which is why I wanted to show it, because it's a really good video. If you're going against Trump and you have all of these supporters who supported Trump, genuine people, not the hardcore people who have ulterior motives of supporting Trump. Take those people off the playing field and just say people who might have been Obama voters, who flip between Democratic and Republican like 20-30% of the population, who may be independents but were willing to give Trump a chance. Like those people, that group, were you betrayed by this president? Oh, I love it.
Let's see this, because I haven't had a chance to look at it because it's not on my list.
This is
some random stuff that you're
like polishing a
Trump
spear
betrayed
off
the voter
and putting it in his chest. Because ultimately the reason
this
Trump got it...
This better be epic.
Well, it's not that it doesn't have to be epic. It just needs to be functional. Like a knife doesn't have to be, like beautiful in order to be able to put a knife in somebody's chest. It's in this very specific point, Donald Trump has made himself out to be X. And the point that the video makes is he was not what he said he was going to be for you in your life. The reason why you voted for him didn't get better. It got worse. That's what this video is saying. That's what Sanders is trying to get across.
Play them!
Sorry. This is good.
Trump betrayed the voters of Wisconsin. Trump is 100% behind stealing tax dollars from the middle class to give to large corporations for empty promises. Ever since I was a child, I can remember shopping at Shopko, and that's been wiped out. It's gone, and soon there will be no more Shopkos in the state. Kimberly-Clark, which is right in my backyard, has been offered tons of tax benefits, which are going to be nothing but the detriment to the Wisconsin taxpayer. That company is going to turn around, take that money, and leave the state anyways in a short period of time.
Donald Trump keeps cutting funding for education. Wisconsin used to be one of the leaders in public education, and now we are losing teachers. People are leaving the state. We can't get a good education here because of Donald Trump.
I've done everything I'm supposed to. I got a 4-year degree. I bought a home, and it's still hard. I have to work a part-time job to afford everything. I think we need Medicare for all so that when people do fall through the cracks or in between jobs, they don't have to lose everything.
have a demagogue like Trump come in. He's promised the American people, those who voted for him, he's going to come in and fix this issue, right? And he's done nothing of the sort.
The president is stirring up a lot of hate and trying to divide the country.
You run into a big risk anytime you try to other people. You say that this group is different, these people are different from us.
We should be afraid of them.
We shouldn't be afraid of anyone. We should embrace.
Straight up lying to our brothers and sisters and some of the people that are most at risk in order to gain political power and to stroke his own ego is beyond maddening. There was a time in this country when the American dream meant that we all had not just the equal opportunity, but the equal tools to strive for those opportunities. We had a tax rate that would enable the building of highways that stretch from one end of the country to the other. We built these institutions and we built this infrastructure. We built this country together.
We're all humans. We all deserve dignity. We all deserve a chance. All anybody's asking for is a chance. There's no reason someone needs to.
Was he crying?
I don't like the crying. I think it's unseemly. I'm sorry. Let me tell you just a short detour. I'm sorry. I've said before, my dad wasn't around, like talking about, and I was somewhat of an odd kid. I was an odd duck as a kid. I didn't like kids, even when I was a kid.
You were a weird kid.
I was an odd kid. But keep in mind, I was in pain most of the time when I was a kid. So I had somewhat of a different perspective of the world. My knees were, like, I had knee pain. I had this disease that created, like, severe knee pain going from the time I was, like, 7 to the time I was, like, 17. So, like, my life wasn't all that, there was always something. But I was always, I was somewhat of a logical kid, even as a kid. Like, I wasn't, this frontal part of your brain not developed. No, in me it was early on. And I remember my dad came over one day and he sits down, he's with my grandmother. It's like him, my grandmother, and I, we're in the room. It's the weirdest, most surreal thing in the world, because it's surreal when he's around anyway, because it's so rare. Like, I can count on almost one hand. And he breaks down crying and he's like, "Boo, I'm sorry. I should have been a better man," and all this other stuff. And I get up and leave the room and I'm like, what the fuck is going on with him? And my mom and him and I are outside like, what the fuck is going on with him? And I gotta be honest, kind of laughing. I feel bad saying that, but it's true. Like, what the fuck? Now, you may say, God, dude, that's kind of harsh, but we lived, keep in mind that impression was created from a lifetime of fuckery associated with him. Like, so, that stuff, there's a lifetime of stuff that created that reaction. But I don't fault the guy for crying, I guess.
But you fault this cat for crying.
It's manipulative, that's all. It's extraordinarily manipulative.
The video is manipulative.
I know, but that takes it, that's
too far?
That's the nuclear option. Like, you have a man and I gotta be honest, I don't even know why he's crying. Do you know why he's crying? Why he's crying?
Emotional. Because he wants to be treated like a human. He thinks people should have fucking human rights, and I don't know why we don't.
But why is he telling me that? Like, what happened to him to get him to that point? Is he just randomly that way?
This video would be even more painful and longer if we heard his entire story.
Maybe not the entire story, but we need to at least know why
some background.
He's freaking out like that.
No, we don't. We just
because
need
right
somebody.
Now we
not
just
for
see
them.
A man crying. A man weeps, and it's like, why is he weeping? And Bernie Sanders is like, yes, weep for me. Weep for me. Oh, we're gonna get him on camera crying.
It's like Batman.
I was going with more of a villain in this case. I don't know, man. It just
so
seems to go too far.
The rest of the
yeah.
video?
I'm sorry. I interrupted. Let's roll it back. I'm sorry.
Play that beautiful bean footage.
Yeah, I know, right?
Which are going to be nothing but the detriment to the Wisconsin taxpayer. That company is going to turn around, take that money, and leave the state anyways in a short period of time.
Donald Trump keeps cutting funding for education. Wisconsin used to be one of the leaders in public education, and now we are losing teachers. People are leaving the state. We can't get a good education here because of Donald Trump.
I've done everything I'm supposed to. I got a 4-year degree. I bought a home, and it's still hard. I have to work a part-time job to afford everything. I think we need Medicare for all so that when people do fall through the cracks or are in between jobs, they don't have to lose everything.
You have a demigod like Trump come in. He's promised the American people, those who voted for him, he's going to come in and fix this issue, right? And he's done nothing of the sort.
The president is stirring up a lot of hate and trying to divide the country.
You run into
Sisters and some of the people that are most at risk in order to gain political power and to stroke his own ego is beyond maddening. There was a time in this country when the American dream meant that we all had not just the equal opportunity, but the equal tools to strive for those opportunities. We had a tax rate that would enable the building of highways that stretch from one end of the country to the other. We built these institutions and we built this infrastructure. We built this country together.
We're all humans, and we all deserve dignity. We all deserve a chance. All anybody's asking for is a chance. There's no reason someone needs to have $10 billion when somebody else has nothing. That person fights just as hard.
Bernie is about bringing people together and accepting that we are all people. We are all essentially fighting for the same thing. Everybody just wants to live, and he wants people to work together to achieve that goal instead of trying to divide and conquer.
And I think that that's more American than anything else. Is to say someone else needs something, I'm gonna help take care of it. And that's why I'm gonna vote for Bernie, because I know that he's gonna fight for the everyman, for all of us. It's not about what he wants. It's about what's right for the country.
Is that someone on the tip of his nose?
I don't know, babe.
What is that? It just looks like there's something on the tip of his nose. They needed to have digitally taken that out. You don't see that at all?
I do. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's on your screen or something else.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, the dog is a good touch. Showing a dog in a video. People love dogs. That's all American. Gotta love it.
They should use a pit bull.
A pit bull would have been nice, but you know, this is a political video, so you gotta find a dog, America-friendly dog. You have to have the speech of looking up to him because he's Bernie Sanders and he's, you know, Lord and Savior. The weak guy, I don't know, man. Too much. That's too heavy for me. The Donald Trump stuff, this is a heavy video. This is an extremely heavy video. I'm wondering what she's feeling about her husband crying like that.
That's his sister.
Why do you think that's his sister?
Why do you think that's her husband?
She's looking up at him. Well, he's tall, but
somebody said, "Come on, he isn't weak." Just also, I would like to say, you said he was weak. Just because he cried doesn't mean he's weak.
All right, I feel you.
Just because you can't cry.
Oh, I can cry. When my mom told me she had cancer, one tear burst from my left eye. I just let me say it this way. Between somebody crying and getting angry, I would prefer angry. That's all. I can use anger. I can't use weeping. Like, you know, I don't, and look, don't misunderstand me. Shit gets real, and people respond the way they respond. And what I've always told you, getting from point A to point B is the only thing that matters. If you have to cry to do it, cry to do it. I don't begrudge anybody for it. But is getting from point A to point B here necessary, and is tears in this moment necessary? He's explaining, I want to be treated like a man. I think you should be treated like a man too. But between crying about it and getting angry about it, I need the anger. The anger is the thing that can be used to motivate to change things. Sitting there weeping about it, can't do anything about it. When that guy, who was it?
You can weep and do stuff. He's just weeping right now. He's going to be doing stuff later. I don't know why we watched this video, to be honest. I don't know what the fuck I don't know.
Because I don't like this video. Let me just say that.
You just said.
Hold on. Wait. Let me explain.
The whole reason.
Let me explain.
That you took us completely off of this.
Let me explain. I like the concept of the video, but the video is so heavy. It's so thick. Like when you just said the entire video is manipulative. If you can pick that out, like like in this kind of really heavy way, like video's manipulative, then you've messed up. If people know that you're manipulating them, there's a problem with that.
So what about this video did you like?
So the argument that Donald Trump has betrayed them is brutal argument. That's politics on a magnificent scale. Because what Bernie Sanders, the only thing he needs to say is, Trump said this, but he did this. That's the entire point that you need to make. This video does this, though, in this overdramatic, weepy, man weeping way, where you're like, dude, you don't need to go that far. It's like you do a movie, and the first movie is fucking awesome, and they're like, yeah, we need more of that. Do you remember, the movie with Jason Statham, Crank? And Crank was awesome. And then they go to Crank 2 and he's like, okay, this is absurd. Because they look at Crank, the first one, is like, okay, what did people like about the first one? Let's do more of that. And more of that doesn't work.
And it was unwatchable.
It was unwatchable.
I can't remember the last time I walked out of a movie, but I walked out of Crank 2.
You walked out, right. When Bernie Sanders did his first campaign thing, and he had that type of video where people were like coming out, he was like, you too are a human being. He's doing that.
Man.
And people are like, yes, that video. And they're like, it's euphoric. He's doing this at Liberal University. Perfect video. And then it's like, they say, we need more of that. And
so
then they
this
do this.
was supposed to be it.
That's my perspective. Maybe it's because the guy's crying.
It's kind of grim. It's kind of gloomy.
It's really gloomy. I don't know.
Fred Edwards says he'd be emotional wreck if I had a young child and the actor of my struggling community, the factories, were shut down after voting for Trump to save it.
Yes, but I don't know if that's the case here.
Yeah, we don't know that.
I think that's my issue. Like, if you give me some reason, that's what it is. If you give me some reason to connect why he's crying to it, then I got it. If it's, I have a wife and kid to feed, and I just lost my job, and Donald Trump said he's going to save my factory. How am I going to make it next week? Fair point. Does you get my point? Like, I need the gravity of what's taking place to explain why he's behaving this way. But the video, like, I'm sorry, this just feels overly manipulative to me.
I thought you liked it, and that's why we're watching it. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
I like the concept, but I think the concept is brutal. But because the concept is Trump said this, he did this, and you can go down the list with that. That's all he needs. Yeah. I don't know if you need to. This far, yeah, it's like
emotion.
It's like I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh God, it's
that's
that.
so rude.
I don't know, like that doesn't do it for me. I'm just sorry, it doesn't do it for me. This doesn't manipulate me.
Not gonna do it for you.
But this is the horse I'm betting on, and because this is the horse I'm betting on, I want him to succeed. My point is this: look, this title right here. Works. Betrayed. We've been betrayed. All right. Now you need to connect betrayed, whatever that thing is, to what Trump is doing. That's all you need to do. Now he's doing this specifically in Wisconsin. And he's saying, look, this factory was shut down. This guy says, I want to be treated like a man, et cetera, et cetera. But Trump gives a tax cut. And yet, like those are concrete things where you can say betrayed and you can kind of nail that home. This goes at a really emotional angle of trying to tap into this notion of betrayed, but it's not. Okay, maybe it's just me. Okay, maybe I'm an asshole. It's not connecting with me, that's all.
That's fine. It didn't connect with you. All right, we're going to go on to the next topic.
Did it connect with you?
No, it didn't.
Now, why didn't it connect with you?
It was very forced. It seemed a little over the top.
Like Crank
for
2?
Me. Somebody actually said they liked Crank 2.
Really?
I was not on drugs when I watched that. I think you had
right,
to be
I wasn't stoned. Because that was the weirdest fucking movie.
Like all right, wait. When they got to the point when they were like, had the robotic dudes that were like smashing the power plant thing, I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm gone.
There was a scene where he was on fire having sex with the other chick. Like, it was just so bizarre. Like, the original concept was a funny fucking movie. It was really good. Jason Statham was on board on that one. But the second one, oh, God.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to our last topic because how long have we been here?
I don't want to feel like a prick with this.
I think that ship might have sailed there, homie. After you mocked the guy that was crying.
I didn't mock him.
You did.
I didn't mock him.
You called him weak, first of all, like reflexively. You used the term weak to describe a man that was crying. Shame on you. Shame.
I'm a product of my culture, man.
Shame.
And I do think that, look.
No, he didn't skip Niko. We haven't gotten there yet.
So look, fair enough.
Because of this.
I do think that there's
shenanigans.
I do think there's something to be said about, especially if there are other people around and there are other responsibilities, of being strong in that situation. And being strong meaning not falling the fuck apart. I do think falling the fuck apart is a bad example because other people get the signal to fall the fuck apart. Human beings have this odd thing where we reflect the emotions in other people, meaning there are these reflexive neurons in our brains. So when we see something, we're watching a movie and it's sad, it's like, oh, that's so sad. Why do we think that is so sad? Because we are putting ourselves in that example. Our brains do that automatically. We're social creatures. Now, you're in a situation where bad things happen. Say you're around your family. If you fall apart, there's a much higher chance that the other people are going to fall apart. And maybe you don't want them to fall apart. Maybe that's not the best opportunity to fall apart.
Luke King says crying and falling apart are not synonymous.
Why are they? Why aren't they? They're kind of in cohorts with one another. And I'm not talking about just kind of, a tear falling. I'm talking about...
And Michael Williams says, but you want Tulsi to display more emotion? Come on, man.
Yes. Because those things are subjective. There's a spectrum.
They say he didn't fall apart. He delivered his story.
There's a spectrum. Everything is not A or B. There's a gradient. Tulsi Gabbard can show emotion without falling the fuck apart. I mean, I don't want her to get on one stage and start crying. Clearly, that's an absurd premise. What I'm saying for Tulsi is she needs to connect with her audience. And the people who are calling her boring, people like you and people like the other guy, I don't necessarily think she's boring, by the way. But people who are calling her boring, are like, she needs to display more emotion. But this is something different. I'm saying that in situations, weeping is not necessarily the best policy.
Okay, so, we get it.
Just saying.
Let's move on, babe.
I defend that position.
Let's move on.
All these weak people trying to defend other weak people. Yeah, I said it. I went there.
John Hill says the video was weak. Crying dude was weak. Dude said there was a time in this country where everyone had a shot. When was that for black people? Tulsi is boring. Thanks for the summary.
Oh, wow. John. That's brutal. That's a brutal summary. Oh, fuck, man. That's brutal. All right, John. Strong man. That's... All right. This is taking a brutal turn.
All right, we're going to go to...
Let's go to Tulsi Gabbard.
All right, so wait. Click back to us. Because I've been reading the comments, and people want to know, what does it mean? Because, all right, you said Niko House was weaponized against Tulsi.
Yeah. What?
What does that mean?
Weaponized? Mm-hmm. Oh, he's turned into a weapon. Weaponized. He was turned into a weapon.
It's like people were thinking that he attacked.
For example,
no, I know what not. That was kind of a rhetorical. Maybe not rhetorical. People were thinking that Niko attacked Tulsi Gabbard based on your verbiage in the description box.
If Jon Snow was Niko House and Tulsi Gabbard was Daenerys Snarborn, whatever her name is,
Snarborn,
he would be fucking his aunt and taking over the world with the dragon, blowing shit up. Like, he would never turn on her. Even if he knew what she was, he would not turn on Tulsi Gabbard. He would never attack her in this way. So that's why I'm saying it wouldn't take place.
Okay, let's get to what you
like
were
the way
saying,
I flip between those,
which is that
bringing up the Game of Thrones stuff.
Not really.
I'm dramatically unsatisfied.
You're dramatic.
With it. Dramatically unsatisfied. that said, it's a dramatic, unsatisfactory, probably best outcome, if that makes sense. Like if you were looking for realism. Because understand, in Game of Thrones, the good guys, there's this notion that the light at the end of the tunnel is a bus, and the light is a train. Yeah, pretty much. Now, I didn't mean that Niko attacked Tulsi Gabbard. What I mean is he was turned into a weapon against Tulsi Gabbard. It's kind of like if I use this ink pen to stab an attacker.
We know Charles.
He weaponized.
We know Charles. We saw that. We saw the whole thing. Yes, Chopper. We did. We do know the end of Game of Thrones. We watched it.
Yeah.
All right, come on. Let's get into what happened. What happened?
So
what happened with Tulsi?
Basically,
What's the media up to now?
Well, they've been using things to attack Tulsi and Sanders, It's the most bizarre thing. So for Sanders, they're like, he was anti-war in his past. Ha! And it's like, yeah, I was anti-war. What the fuck do you care? Like obscene. No, for Sanders. But they're doing the same thing for Tulsi. So, for example, Sanders is an interview at the New York Times, and she's like, so you were at this crowd in Cuba, and there was an anti-American part. It was, well, yeah, I mean, because, at the time, the United States was trying to overthrow the government of Nicaragua, et cetera, and we were taking down their elected leaders and trying to kill, we were funneling kill squad and death squads. But that crowd said something bad about America. Miss, did you just hear what I told you?
Wait,
we were sponsoring government. Yeah, it was that.
Yeah.
It was like they're attacking us for this utter nonsense.
Well, last week we also talked about how they were attacking Tulsi Gabbard, saying that she was being funded by Russia.
Yeah, she was being funded by the Russians. Right. This goes into the same thing because it goes into this thing of Putin supporters are supporting Tulsi Gabbard, and it's Stephen Cohen. Stephen Cohen, you should listen to Stephen Cohen. Stephen Cohen is a fucking brilliant man. But the oddity that just because somebody is supportive of, or let's say doesn't want conflict between the United States and Russia, and they support Tulsi because she's on an anti-war platform, that is somehow indicative of her being a Putin puppet or something. I don't even know what they're alleging. It's more so just, hey, these Russophiles are supporting Tulsi Gabbard. Ha! Deal with that. Like, so there's no point to the article. It's a racist article. I mean, I don't know. What is it? Race, culture, xenophobia, whatever the fuck that is. Like, but they're doing it for political reasons. Now, the first thing they would say is, oh, those Republicans are racist. Those Republicans use dog whistles. What the fuck is this? That's just as bad. They're castigating the entirety of a nation, a group of people, creating the specter of Vladimir Putin because they know that all of these Democrats hate Russians now, because they associate Russians with Hillary Clinton losing that goddamn election. And for the last 3 years, the Democratic Party has stoked up this resentment and hatred of Russians. And now you're seeing it take effect in this political thing where these guys talk about this stuff in these kind of dog whistle ways of, hey, look at all these people who in some way want less tensions between the United States and Russia. And these supportive of Tulsi Gabbard, oh, that's so sinister. Are you serious?
Now they've gone one step further, and
they've gone more ridiculous because they are now using Niko House as a weapon against Tulsi. In the same vein of, look at all of these people who are okay with Russia supporting Tulsi Gabbard. Now it's look at Niko this House. Niko House, this conspiracy theorist that's supporting Tulsi Gabbard, and then they would say David Duke also supports Tulsi Gabbard. Do you know how obscure this is? This is so bizarre. It's like saying, David Duke supports Hillary Clinton because of, her willingness to go to war. I don't know. And they're like, using that as a political, nobody would use that. Nobody would care. Or Tony Blair is supportive of the Remain side for Brexit. And so now anybody that supports Remain is somehow akin to Tony Blair. Nonsense! This is utter absurdity. George Bush is okay with, Hitler likes dogs. And so anybody that likes dogs are akin to Hitler. Like, there's an absurdity to this. That's nonsense. Even if Niko House was everything that they say it is. Let's say he's worse. Let's say Niko House is Alex Jones. What does it matter? One disturbed individual decides that he likes a candidate because a candidate doesn't like war. But they blow this up to be...
They're finding every potentially negative supporter and saying that is representative of Tulsi
But of course
Gabbard.
That's absurd. Every candidate is going to have somebody who doesn't have a screw loose supporting them. The notion that you could take the guy that doesn't have a screw loose and say, hey, do you support this person? I'm sure if you go to the prison system and you ask each inmate, ask every murderer, who do you support? You're going to get somebody that goes across the entire political spectrum. Are you really going to say that if you're supporting... Yeah. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. This notion that just because somebody supports you, that you are somehow responsible for your supporter. Fucking nonsense. Yeah. But Huffington Post is putting this out here as if this is a real story. Niko House, who won the Hawaii Democrats' recent pizza challenge, also believes Bill Cosby was framed in that pizza case.
Wait, you did not read that. Slow down a little bit. Niko House,
who won the Hawaii Democrats' recent donor challenge, also believes Bill Cosby was framed in that pizza case was real.
Okay, you said pizza challenge, but that's fine.
Oh, my bad. Look, they had a contest. Niko House won the contest. So what? How can you control? It's like, how do you control who wins your contest? It's, the Democratic Party may do that, but apparently Tulsi didn't.
So Niko believes that Cosby was framed. Oh, it's
Representative
potentially
Tulsi,
some conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Representative Tulsi is set to have lunch with a prolific, conspiracy theorist who argues that mass shootings in Las Vegas was intelligence operation meant to distract from the Harvey Weinstein scandal. And who also, by far, most successful digital fundraiser for her campaign, according to recent announcements from the Hawaii Democrats' presidential campaign staff. So apparently they're going to have some kind of meeting. Now, here's this. I love this. In seeking the presidential nomination, Gabbard, while struggling to register most polls. Now, the beauty of this is she's ahead of most corporate Democrats.
Didn't struggle, did she?
She has 1% in the polls. But that's more than most of the corporate Democrats that are in the race. You have 20 people in that race. Tulsi Gabbard is like 6th or 7th.
Okay.
So this notion that, she's struggling ahead of most of the corporate candidates that we'd otherwise be supporting. Gabbard, while struggling to register the most votes, has attracted a good deal of support from fringe left and right, especially online. Even former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke tweeted his support. And the sad thing about TYT, it's when the same tropes are used over and over and over again in liberal media that you can see it. Because that's what they use on TYT also. David Duke supported your campaign.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, what do I have to do with that? The Congresswoman has repeatedly disavowed the endorsement. Yeah. Then why? It's like, so why are you telling me this?
Is the problem that she's going to sit down with him? But she's sitting down with him because he won that challenge.
Well, my point is this. David Duke likes her. Okay? I just wanted you to know that. Okay.
Well, he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy. You're okay with that? I mean, it's a bad guy. It's supporting Tulsi Gabbard. You're okay with that? I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, only good people support other candidates? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, it makes no sense. But this is what they're putting up there. And so the question becomes, why are they putting this up there? Here's the thing. Like I said, people are odd in the way that they tend to lump it to groupthink. And if you can convince them that a large segment of the population is on one particular side, those people will be drawn to that side. It's almost like a weird gravity associated with it. If you can associate Tulsi Gabbard with the Klan, ooh, that's gross, that's nasty, that's nasty.
It's less appealing.
It's less appealing.
It's like, what is she doing?
What is she doing? Right.
That makes the KKK support her.
This guy support her. Yeah. And then you say, and even on the left wing, they're fringe conspiracy theorists, this guy that they probably have never heard of, Niko House. And it's like, so on the left and the right, she's just getting fringe guys who are into this conspiracy theory stuff. Oh, God, But you ask the question, are you telling me that no other candidate, you know what I mean? Like, that makes no sense as an argument. Somebody says, I want less war. And a lunatic says, yeah, I want less war too. You might be crazy.
She's completely discredited now.
She's completely discredited. That
makes
no
sense.
What
she stands for.
That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Like, this is
Kalita, guilt by association.
But it's a stupid argument. It's a stupid argument. Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Charles Davis is a fucking idiot. Who's Charles Davis? What else has Charles Davis wrote? Because I have to ask the question, like, why is Charles Davis writing this? Daily Beast, New Republic. I don't. What is his objective in writing this piece? And it's like
to hurt her.
Yes,
clearly.
But
to hurt her.
But how is he trying to hurt her? He's trying to hurt her by saying
associated with
there are people
individuals
that like her that we deem discredited, and because we deem these people discredited, but it's like, how does she control who likes her, and how do we control the message that she's putting out on anti-war that they may just agree with because it's anti-war?
She can't control it, but if she was really a good person, these people wouldn't be backing her.
It's like the Saudis, who are running a totalitarian government, is putting a ton of money into Hillary Clinton's Clinton Foundation. Oh, Clinton can't control that. She can't control the money that's coming into her. I mean, come on. That's unfair. That's unfair that you guys are putting that up. What? This is nonsense. This guy would have been licking the boots of Hillary Clinton if Hillary Clinton got into office. This is my point. This double fucking standard. He's writing this purely as a hit piece. It's purely a hit piece. And it's a hit piece that is utterly deranged. It makes no sense.
Balthazar says, you do know that 7-Eleven was an inside job. Hot coffee doesn't melt chimichangas. Okay. All right, Balthazar.
I don't know what Niko believes. So I can't speak one way or the other on it. But assume that everything that they say it's true. Assume the worst. Fuck it. Run bananas with it. Whatever you want to think as the worst case scenario that you want to think of as the worst case scenario. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
Balthazar, this is a good one. This isn't a super chat, but I thought this was a good point. I think he puts it well. He says you have to ask whether ignoring a candidate or demonizing a candidate is a larger indication of fear. I'd argue demonizing and smearing are greater indicators of perceived threats. I agree.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. The question becomes, what is the threat here? I mean, they attacked her from the get-go. Is it threat or is it punitive? And I got to be honest, I don't know which. You must understand, the media is not separate and isolated from the political apparatus. The media is only just the weapon within the political space. They're fused in some respects. Many of the people who write these stories have candidates that they talk to and they pipeline information to. So they may say, hey, here's information about this. Or you and I have a relationship now, so when a story comes up, I can give you that story, you can get it out under your name, completely detached from me, almost as a proxy. Yeah. This happens. Daily Beast, all of these magazines. It would be shocking if this guy wasn't one of those people. So there's some stories that come out as hit jobs. Some of them have their own political allegiances in and of themselves. Some of them are creatures of the Democratic Party, and some of them, are pipelined into political space. Huffington Post is one of those magazines. So I don't necessarily know his incentive here. This is an utterly deranged article, though.
It's rough.
Like my point is, even if you think of the worst, she has nothing to do with people who support her. And the wild part about this is, even wilder, her going to Niko in this is something that was a contest. Like, it was just the person who gives him the most was supporters I would sit down with. He just so happens to win the contest. Yeah. What is she supposed to say? Oh, I can't do that. Yeah, I can't do that. I would have lost more respect for her if she did. I mean, come on. Yeah, come on. Yeah, this is utterly ludicrous. I can't believe he wrote this. Like, I can't believe he wrote this. Like, it's that bad. Like, there's nothing that you're hitting her on here. You're just saying she's having lunch with somebody who we think is horrible.
This doesn't have anything to do with her.
Nothing to do with her. Nothing at all. David Duke likes her. Okay. I mean, all right. Fair enough. So. George Bush likes, Obama was talking with George Bush. Oh! But nobody says that. Nobody says Obama or Michelle Obama gave George Bush a candy. Nobody says, can't believe that bitch gave that warmonger, criminal killer. Nobody says that. But in this case, they ask, they say, who are you supporting? And they're like, George. When George Bush, what did he give his vote to? He wasn't voting for Trump, if I'm not mistaken. He probably was voting for Clinton. But again, nobody take issues with that. The guy's a fucking warmonger. He's a killer. All right. This is just aggravates me. Look, it boils down to this. What do you want your world to look like? Honestly, truly, what do you want your world to look like, for fuck's sake? And I'm saying this to all these people who are pushing for Warren or whatever else. How do you get anything of this world that you want if you're still spending $1 trillion on a military apparatus? How? When Martin Luther King went out against Vietnam, part of the reason he was going against Vietnam was we can't get anything done here because of all the money that's being spent over there. He's made this point, the Great Society hit his head on the rocks of the shores of Vietnam. He knew exactly what he was talking about in this, and you're in the same case now. Do you realize, we are running a war machine on debt. We're on debt. And all of this remain somewhat fluid until the dollar is no longer the reserve currency. And seeing as we've been pissing the world off, that could take the place. Like, we're not invulnerable in this case in the way that we're going about our affairs. So you have one candidate who says, I want less war. That's my goal. That's what I want. No, I'm not going to win, but fuck it, I'm going to go balls out. I want less war. Meaning anything that you ask me, I'm going to be sufficient in my answer. Meaning I'm going to be concise. I'm going to be consistent. And if that consistency means, yeah, sometimes we need to work with horrible men. We did it in the past. We had no issue working with horrible men. Nobody cared about this when we were working with Saddam Hussein, or when we were working with Gaddafi, or when we were working with these dictators in South America that were brutal and vicious, or the Shah and Iran. Nobody cared about those dictators that we were working with. But now all of a sudden, oh, she's talking to bad men. These bad men. Yeah, I don't have much patience for people like this. And Elizabeth Warren, if she's going to propagate this, then the domestic stuff that she's talking about is not going to get done. It's not going to get done. You have someone who's a fucking spaghetti. I don't want spaghetti in office. I don't want spaghetti in office at all. And, this has nothing to do with her being a woman. This has everything to do with her being what I consider to be spongy. What has given you this notion that she'd hold her shape in any political situation? What? She has an allegiance to Israel, so that's not going anywhere. Like, she is an arm of the Democratic Party, and you are going to get essentially a propagation of what you've done before, man. She may do some domestic shit. She may try to.
Some domestic shit?
Yeah, she may. But you're not going to get a fundamental change to the system, which is what's necessary. Like, why do you need a New Deal? Nobody ever engages that. Nobody even asks Sanders that. Why do you need a New Deal, Sanders? And I would love for somebody to ask him that question, because what I want to press upon his mind is, as a lefty, they changed the system back before. Why don't you think it would get rechanged again if you don't fundamentally restructure the system as it stands? The edifice itself needs to change. Now, this is not break the wheel stuff, but this is, we do need to make changes to the structure of the system to change the way the incentives work to disallow us getting back to this place. Otherwise, you're pissing in the wind. You're doing something that's going to be a temporary fix for a temporary generation that is going to get clawed back just like it got clawed back once before. I am not wrong on this. You can look at it and tell. You're just talking about history repeating itself again.
Yeah.
All of the people die, but you end back up on that wheel with the master of gold and coin, with the master of whispers, sitting at the table.
Check your Streamlabs.
Talking to the hand of the king.
And stop giving spoilers for Game of Thrones, please.
Oh, wow, that's a lot. Be fair. Be fair. The drone was designed specifically to kill people. Yes, that's true. It wouldn't be surprising, at least, if the military developed AI software so drones can kill without input from the user. Yes, that's happening. That's happening. That's happening, if I'm not mistaken. Or at the very least, the AI is working on that. Yes, you're right. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But let's be very clear. The drone was designed, developed, built, put into action, all with deliberate intention, deliberate act, with the notion of creating that tool to kill people. It didn't manufacture itself out of the ether. It was a human being and human will that decided to do something like this because they had a mission that they wanted to accomplish of killing people, and they wanted to be able to kill people easier. It's like, fuck, man, I don't have to get out of my chair to go murder people. I have an idea. What if we can turn this plane into a flying killer robot? You think we could do that? I think we could do that. We could do that. We could do that. We got cash. We got billions of dollars. We could do that. We don't even have to go to the war zone. We can sit in our room and we could just fly that shit and murder people at a distance.
We don't even have to fly it. Just give it its own intelligence and let it figure out
right there.
Who's bad
That's exactly. That's the next step. The next step is, look, we don't want a human being
go out and figure out who
to make that choice because with human beings, it gets on their conscience. It fucks with them a little bit. So maybe if you could just have a robot make that choice, you can have like a non-choice choice. Now, the truth of the matter is, the software engineer that built that is responsible for the actions of that robot. Something is making the choice, and what's making the choice is the algorithm that the person programmed into it, if that makes sense. When I'm writing a software program, and I am giving some kind of algorithm, I am imbuing it with an equation that I am creating. It's an XY. It's just not a fixed thing. It's not a static thing. It's not like, it's not somebody, it's not, this ink pen is standing here at this particular moment, at this particular place in time, and so forth. This ink pen is somewhere. It's an X and Y coordinate. It could be anywhere. And in this case, I give you the equation, and you just plug in X, Y's. Like the computer itself is being programmed by somebody, and that program has certain biases built into the way that the program is built because it's a person that's building it.
Yeah.
So it's not like an ether is making a choice. A person is still making a choice. In every situation, a person is making a choice. It's a tool. I get it. It was designed to kill. I agree with you. Full stop. I don't have this belief that technology is innocuous. You know what I mean? So don't misunderstand me. If you build technology with a very specific purpose, then it is what it is. It's built into it. Your intention is wrapped into the what it is. I'm just saying it is used by a person to murder somebody. It is a tool, like a gun is a tool, or a stick is a tool. If I use this to bash somebody over the head, it is the same thing as me using a drone to kill somebody. The only difference is the magnitude of use.
The efficiency of the
tool. Is that fair? I think I'm right. Hype. It's really hard to get hyped or angry or motivated listening to Tulsi. Warren shows emotion, but it always feels like an act. Yeah, specifically hyperbole. Hillary Clinton's attempt to show passion came off as disingenuous and screaming. Yes, Tulsi makes me want tropical drinks. You're looking for authenticity. That's what you're talking about, right? I mean, he's like, his point is, look, I just want somebody to be real with me. I want him to be authentic. I get, yeah. I think the strength of Sanders on this was Sanders always came across as he was above politics. Hillary Clinton, when you're looking at Hillary Clinton's book on Shattered, one of the things they make was point is Hillary saying like, they're taking him as if he's above politics. And that used to bug the shit out of her because at that point it made her seem even more disingenuous when she was giving her speeches. He's good at that. That's his wheelhouse. So anybody else that's following him has to some degree come across at the very least as being authentic. Authenticity is a big deal. I'll give you another one. When Ocasio-Cortez is dancing on the roof or cooking grits in her room or tacos.
Grit? Oh,
I don't know which ones.
This is getting bad.
One of them. My wife is also brutally racist. Whatever she was cooking. People like it. They look at her and they're like, oh, wow, she's just a person. She's just like us. When Beto goes for a dental appointment and his mouth is like,
that's awkward.
That's awkward. That looks massively awkward. Like, it looks really bizarre, actually. So, you get this dichotomy of this search for authenticity. And then you get false authenticity where people smell out and they're like, I don't like that.
Carrying hot sauce in their pocket.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too absurd. And we're at the age now where anything that takes place is out. Videos of everything, comments on everything. And you have politicians that need to swim in this particular water. Authenticity is probably one of your best weapons. By the same token, authenticity can also be taken against you, when you're doing something where you're being real about, but you're still hit for it. Especially if it fits the narrative. It's fascinating, man. It's odd though, but I don't like this notion of her being boring because I don't think she's boring. But that's a perspective thing, I guess. But I've also agreed that I do need her to be a little.
It would be.
I don't want to be angry.
More motivating if she had a little bit more enthusiasm.
It's the meditation.
All right.
She needs to be less centered.
Gabriel Badwolf says he doesn't want spaghetti in office either. Lasagna 2020. And then SoCal says, coach him on JavaScript.
Coach who on JavaScript? I use JavaScript. Oh, I used to.
Somebody says
everyone gets about macro. Well, JavaScript is interpreted. That's the catch. It's interpretive language. Each browser interprets the language in a particular way. That means there's some scripts that are available in some, but not others. I don't know how it pertains to the political thing though. Everyone forgets about Mike Gravel. Yes, I don't forget about Mike Gravel. I love Mike Gravel. We desperately need the Sam Ronan effect. Oh, by the way, I donated to Mike Gravel. I am one of his 65,000 donations. I want him on that debate stage also.
Nice.
I want him pushing Sanders to the left. Every time Sanders says something, I want him to be like, "You, Mr. Sanders, are just scared because they're going to talk about you." I want him doing like hitting Sanders, pushing him to the left. Sanders takes him like, "Well, look, I don't believe that we should be toppling, Venezuela, blah, 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 blah." Because Gravel has zero fucks to give. Zero. He has kids doing his Twitter page. Zero fucks. Like, so I want him on that debate stage. He's like, "I'm going to be dead in 5 years. I'm going to do this before I leave. This is going to be the last thing I do." He's all in. I love the guy. Absolutely love the guy.
Finish that one.
He said, "We desperately need the Sam Ronan effect, where people are willing to say things that need to be heard and said by candidates who won't be in fear of losing their votes and said to people who don't care about winning." Yes, which is why I want Tulsi on that stage. Like, there's a reason for this. When people say, "Well, she has no chance of winning," I don't care. I want her in front of an American audience, debates after debate after debate after debate, saying anti-war message. And I want it drilled into their heads over and over and over and over and over again. And I want these other candidates like Joe Biden to explain why their kids should be going into other countries to topple their governments when they haven't attacked us. I need Joe Biden to make that case. I want him to make that case. I want all of those corporate candidates to make that case. I want Elizabeth Warren to make that case. I want them to explain why we should be giving all of this money to Israel, while simultaneously allowing them to just massacre and have an open-air ghetto in this way. So, yeah, I want these candidates like Gravel and Tulsi and Sanders.
On the stage.
Yes. Also, I don't want Sanders on stage by himself with a bunch of hawks.
Yeah.
That's a telegenic
of
thing.
The 25 other.
Yeah. A bunch of other corporate tools. All of them saying robotic stuff and Sanders is one. I don't want that. I want... Yeah. We'll see how it comes out. I don't know how they're going to play it, but we'll see.
All right. Do we have any more?
Yeah, we have...
No, not that. Do we have any more?
No, this is all super chats.
Okay.
I think. Oh, Ender's drone. Oh, wow. I'm surprised that the U.S. military didn't just constrict the ton of gamers, get them to flat drones, and let them think that it was a video game system. Yeah. You know something about Ender's Game where where they found out at the end of the thing.
It was real.
That's interesting, right? I mean, because at that point you don't know. Like, if you tell them it's a game, they can do anything. Like,
And some people completely deviate from the mission of a game just to see what happens.
Yeah, just to see what happens. I do that. It's
a
like you're roaming
I'm like,
the countryside.
I wonder, can I blow this up?
Yeah, I wonder, can I kill that? Oh, wow, everything blows up in this game. Yeah. They're shooting back at me. Oh, shit, they shot down my drone. My bad, dog. I'll be back tomorrow. I love this game. I don't want that. The U.S. military does try to enlist kids, though, using those games. The military put out their own military training game of sorts. Did you hear about that? Like, they have a video game that gives them this kind of bird's eye view of what it's like to be in the military of sorts, to try to entice more people to get into the military. 1% of our country is in the military. Isn't that weird? 1%. Now, you might say, well, great, we have a volunteer military, but that also means that when something pops off, the president now has 1% of the population with 99% not caring. Hell, let's say you have 5% of the population that cares. 95% is entirely unengaged in what is taking place, meaning the president can get into his foreign military, foreign wars, and everything else. Nobody cares. The military families may care, but in their minds, this is patriotism. I'm being patriotic by allowing our government to bash and kill and murder all of these people. I'm being patriotic by letting my kid do that. And the kid thinks he's being patriotic while in the process of doing that. It's only after the fact where they're like, what the fuck did I do? And should have been doing it. Whether you think about it. But while you're in, everybody I've talked to said, you're brainwashed. You're brainwashed.
Yeah.
You can kind of understand why. I mean, there are legitimate wars, I think. If somebody's trying to attack you or track your interests, I totally understand you being, some not a dove on this front.
Let me read the next ones. Scuba, he says, I scuba dive, and the tone of the voices of the instructor is very similar to Tulsi's. It's fine when you're getting advice from a psychiatrist, but terrible if they're telling you about stuff that can kill you underwater. Sometimes anger is the correct tone.
Yes, that's my point.
Someone else goes on to say, Nita Turner shows that you can be rightfully, passionately angry about something, but come off as completely genuine.
Perfect.
Yeah, she does have a good...
Because I'm trying to get across to people, I'm not saying she needs to be a, psychopath, a lunatic. I'm not even saying flip out. Everybody has their ranges in how they express emotion. I'm just saying you are dealing with 300 million people within the United States. And a large percentage of those people voted for Donald Trump. There's some percentage of those people that voted for Trump because they were angry and they were pissed off at the way society had went out, and you had Trump who looked different.
Yeah.
That's the framing.
And
some of those people,
new.
right? And some of those people were angry and connected to this kind of rage that Donald Trump engendered in his base. Now you are engaging these people who might be rightfully angry. Like I grew up. My uncle is working 2 jobs with a sick grandmother. You know what I mean? And you know that situation where it's like trying to be able to stay with her, but you can't do it because you can't afford to do it. And it's like, okay, who else is going to take care of them? That's an unwinnable situation. That's not something he did wrong per se. He's working. Society says we like you to work. He has to work 2 jobs because society doesn't apply for him for the first job, meaning he has to work 2 because society hasn't made sure that 1 job will be enough to ensure that you can live. And because he has to work 2 jobs, he can't take care of a responsibility now that he'd have to take care of otherwise. Why wouldn't you be angry at that?
Yeah.
That's nothing that you're doing per se. You have a parent that's getting older because people get older, and you're working because you're getting older yourself, but you have to work. This is to some degree a societal issue, because I guarantee you that is not the only person that is dealing with that situation, and that is not specific to being black or anything else.
So you want some...
My point is this. If a person is going to a political campaign and Tulsi is speaking to that person is angry. Not everybody absorbs it that way. But...
And to be clear, not everybody wants her... I mean, some people are like, I love her.
Right. This is not everybody. So don't misunderstand me. And I'm talking purely from my perspective on this. And again, I don't want her losing it. I'm just saying, engaging people that have had shit thrown at them and had to live in that for day in, day out, 1 minute to the next, to the next, to the next. And they're looking, hoping that this person is going to somehow connect with them. And many of them are pissed off because they see these guys are getting fucking tax cuts. That guy has lost $1 billion in his life. He's lost more money than anybody else. He's president of the United States. And I'm barely making ends meet. And they may take my fucking house. I have a wife and a kid to feed. That guy was weeping about it, but you would imagine other people would be angry about it. And you're trying to connect with those people. Now, I'm not necessarily saying you need to be losing your shit, but you do need to get something across that shows, I get it. I get it at a gut level way that goes beyond just me saying, I feel your pain.
I understand.
As opposed to, that is an enraging thing. I totally understand where you're coming from with this. And that is something that we really, there's a way of giving yourself a political latitude and engaging people. Whereas your ability to communicate goes far beyond just what you're saying in your words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all. I like Tulsi. Clearly, I like her. I do videos on Tulsi Gabbard all the time. I want her on the debate stage. I have said as much. And if this is a critique at all, it's just how you communicate to people has an emotional dimension. And yeah, that needs to be tapped sometimes. And I don't mean tap it in a disingenuous way, but tapped it in a way that says, look, I get how much this hurts. I get it. And I'm there for you. I'm going to fight for you when I get out of bed in the morning. So that's all. People trying to take shots at me. Tulsi thing. And I think the Nita Turner one is right. What? I think the Nita Turner thing is right. I think they're right on with that. Yeah, so you ready? What's the next one?
We read all of them.
I thought there was one more.
I think it's a good place.
See, there's one more.
To wrap it up.
There's one more right there.
Stop putting your hand. I think you're just trying to put your hand in front of my face.
You have a pretty cynical view of me.
All right.
That I don't think is...
Do you want to do this one? And I'll let you... You want to do this one as a different show, and we finish up the patron appreciation show?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because it's 420. It's 420.
Wow.
Felicity Kindles. Oh, wow. Felicity Kindles. Wait, I have to read this one.
Wait. Let me just say this one first, real quick. And we can talk about this later, but I do want to put this out because people have been really angry with Sanders over this. Bernie Sanders says something about Julian Assange. Let me be clear. It's a disturbing attack on the First Amendment of the Trump administration to decide who is or who is not a reporter for the purposes of a criminal prosecution. Donald Trump must obey the Constitution, which protects the publication of news about our government. You know what he didn't say? Julian Assange.
He didn't even say his name.
He didn't even say his name. It is still a rail that he cannot touch. The question is, why can't Sanders touch that rail? Sanders wasn't going to say anything about this until the other Democrats joined in, like Rachel Maddow screaming on her show about First Amendment protection publication because they realized, holy shit, this is us. This is going to attack us. In which case, it's fair game. Because now the attack is not on protecting Julian Assange, it's attacking Trump. Donald Trump is attacking the First Amendment. We must stop Donald Trump from attacking the First Amendment. Why is Donald Trump attacking the First Amendment, Sanders? I don't know. He's just attacking the First Amendment. Look at Gordon Demax is too little too late. Too little too late. Cassandra Fairbanks says, thank you. Gordon is not impressed. And I got to be honest, I'm leaning more on the side of Gordon on this.
It is really late. I mean, how long has this been going on for weeks?
Well, he wasn't going to say anything while it wasn't a publishing thing. Now that it's a publishing thing and the other Democrats are getting involved because media gets involved. Media gets involved now.
Now it's fair game.
Well, now that media gets involved, Democrats can get involved because they can just lump themselves on the side of media. The fact that media is attacking Donald Trump on this and Democrats just kind of lend into the attack, meaning those Democrats can get whatever media attention that they want at this point, especially the bigger Democrats, because all of them agree. This is just a spear with which to attack Donald Trump on. So now Sanders can get involved in this because it's more about the First Amendment and less about Julian Assange. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. We'll talk about it in one of the other videos. All right. Any more super chats?
Yeah, Felicity Kindles. You're going to have to pull this one up and look at it later. But she's given the YouTube link. She says Theresa May is being advised to play one parting chess move, an anti-no-deal Brexit law binding her successor to accept a deal or revoke. And there's the article. So you're going to have to pull that one up.
Felicity Kindle, thank you. I don't know what that is. I appreciate that.
I don't know if that's not a euro. I'm not sure what that meant. That's not a euro symbol. I'm not sure what it is. But, I mean, no, thank you, definitely. But I think you had the same response that I did. But you need to click on
what is that?
I don't know
what that is. That's okay.
Well, yeah, someone said he didn't use Assange's name. He's just a tool.
Theresa May is being advised to play one parting chess move, an anti-no-deal Brexit law, binding her successor to accept a deal or revoke Article 50. Oh, wow.
Click on.
They're not going to accept that. The conservatives are not going to accept that because this is. If they do this, keep in mind, Theresa May was always a Remainer. She wanted to remain. That's not something she wanted to do anyway. So her taking over Brexit in this case was looked at as, okay, she's going to scuttle Brexit. There's no way she's going to bring to Brexit. And the hypothesis was that she fucked it up so bad on purpose. I don't think that. I think it's incompetence. Now, in her case, though, her thing is whoever's going to exceed me is going to be somebody like Johnson. And those are going to be the hard Brexiteers that says, we're leaving on October 31st. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Now, her thing is, all right, I'm going to try to get a bill passed that stops him from doing that. Now, the catch is, though, that person can countermand that law if they get in office. But if that law passes, it would mean that that law passed, that they don't want a no Brexit, which means that they will end up, at that point, with scuttling altogether. Write me down for this. If they pass that, meaning if she's right, and they pass that law, they're going to end up scuttling Article 50. Because you've just barred the door. It doesn't make sense. It's, I'm going to lock myself in the room and say, all right, let's go for a deal. all right, well, the deal is, what I gave your other person. But this is utterly unacceptable to us. You can always leave. Oh, you locked the door. This is the deal that you're going to get. This is the deal that you negotiated with. If you don't like this deal, you can kick rocks. Oh, you locked the door. It doesn't make sense in negotiation. I don't understand how this can be, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a weird fucking thing that these guys are doing. Like, we're going to stop no deal at all costs. Then how are you negotiating? Europe, who wants to punish Britain, make no doubts about it. They look like the heroes in this only because Britain is so shambolic. But Europe wants to punish Britain. They have every incentive in the world to teach Britain a lesson and put a lash on them. Because Britain decided to leave the European Union. And you have other European skeptical governments like Italy, and if I want to say Slovakia, but I could be wrong with that. But Orban at this point is pushing back. But these governments that are Eurosceptic, big governments, that if they pull out will have tremendous problems. They want to teach Britain a lesson. They want Britain to leave with a better deal than they had while they were in it. So the deal that Theresa May struck, they're now saying, you're stuck with this. We're not negotiating anything else. And if you're going to make this notion of we're locking the door about negotiations, that's insane. This is an insane proposition. It really is. I mean, it's fascinating politics, but it's fucking insane in regards to the proposition.
I read that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right.
You just follow the link that she sent, so you can check the video out later.
Yeah, I check it out.
Might be another story you have to do separately.
All right, guys. Guys, I always appreciate you guys coming out, and I like doing these shows. Are always funny to me because it gets to do a lot all at once, as opposed to doing show after show after show after show after show. It's like you just get a bang all of them in. Also, it's a little bit more free form, so you get to engage as opposed to just kind of, talk to the audience. But guys, thank you for showing up to this. And I want to thank my lovely wife for showing up. Got her hair blown out.
Yeah, I'm gone.
All right, guys. If you enjoy it, please consider supporting, sharing. This video will be up on Patreon within probably 30, 40. Oh, we have to cut the video.
So by
tomorrow.
By last week, we announced somewhere between now and the end of tomorrow, the end of Monday. Last week, usually these videos are like 2 or 3 hours long, and we just drop them into Patreon. But starting next week, I'm going to cut the videos so that you can see specific topics. So it'll probably be 4 to 5 different videos. So you can just click. So if you only want to hear about Niko House, you just click on that one.
Yeah.
Instead of dropping in a 3-hour one. So that being said, it has to be uploaded, chopped up, edited, graphics added, and all that other stuff. And so I would say before Tuesday they'll be all up because it is a process. But
yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah, but it should be easier and
it's more accessible.
It's more
as opposed
accessible.
to like a 3-hour video, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do with this? I want to see one video in this entire thing.
Right. So.
Also, we can make them available. Yeah, we can make them visible on Patreon so people will be like, yeah.
Right. So if you're not a patron, consider becoming a patron. A commitment as little as $1 a month gets you access to all of the content that's put up on Patreon. If you're not supporting monetarily, just be sure that you are subscribed. And if you like the content, then click the thumbs up button.
Chess. How can she expect to make a chess move before leaving if she couldn't even do a checkers properly? Checkers was the big event where she had this big it's like outing of her bill, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember it correctly. Mm-hmm. And all of these people were supposed to be coming to Checkers. I have this plan, and if I'm not mistaken, that's when Boris Johnson resigned, or he resigned like almost immediately afterwards. And this kind of big splashy show of he was calling like the European Union like servitude. Like, it was just a weird thing, but he was getting this big flashy speech about how he has to leave the European Union and how we're going to lose sovereignty to the European. We're going to be a vassal state. Yeah. He was like using big words that he was using. But yeah, bring on the circus, man. Bring on the clown. Bojo. Let him get a shot. You let a Remainer get a shot, let Bojo get a shot. Now the catch is, Bojo should have gotten a shot the first time around. Bojo didn't want that shot. He gave it up. That's the catch. Now he wants it back. And so now he's doing it with less agency to maneuver in, which means what the hell is going to take place. Is the EU really going to stick with this thing of, we're not going to negotiate anymore, we're done, son. We're at home in our beds, we're drinking our teas, we're done. We don't have anything else to negotiate. Because if they crash out, it will also adversely affect the European Union. And I would guarantee you that Bojo is going to try to find some way to weaponize something to make that shit hurt. It's like, if we're going to hurt, you are also going to hurt in this process. We will hurt more, but you're going to also hurt in this process. Like, I can't beat the United States, but I can drop a nuke on Japan, drop a nuke on Hawaii, you know. So, just saying. All right. I'm going to end this here, guys. Thank you. I will see you probably not today, but definitely tomorrow.
Enjoy your Memorial Day.
Oh, that's right. It's just right.
And the rest
I
of
may
your
see
weekend.
you tomorrow. We'll see. But happy Memorial Day, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.